The pain is constant, like the rain in this city. I bought the dip, but the dip dipped. The name's Coffeezilla. And my biggest secret is sometimes I wonder if the only bottom we're gonna find is at the bottom of a glass.
That's it. I'm cutting you off.
Wait, why? I've only had 4 or 5 drinks.
It's not about the drinks. Every time you start doing this narrator thing, it's nothing but trouble.
Not even my bartender understands my brooding anymore.
You're doing it again!
Somehow Maxwell can hear my narration, which is strange.
That's because you have a tape recorder right there.
What? Oh.
Look, Coffee, I'll play bartender one more time, but you've gotta pick yourself up after this. I mean, what's this all about?
I just don't even see the point. Markets are down, inflation's up, and I've got nothing but bad news. What's the rush to do another depressing story?
Wow, that is so selfish. It's all about you, isn't it? Do you ever think of the people out there who subscribe to you, or they're...
Counting on me?
No, I was thinking more that they're mildly entertained by you.
Oh, that's the pep talk? I'm mild entertainment?
Exactly. You're getting it. But what you're not getting is drinks. I'm cutting you off for your own good. At least until you do another case.
Wait a second. That's not how you want to play this, right? I mean, look, I'll do another case for you, but what about this story? Breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. Maxwell the bartender is scamming customers.
Not unless you want people to learn about how you actually afforded that $10 million studio. I mean an actual case. Like the 3 Arrows Capital story.
All right. We don't have to go there. And wait, 3 Arrows Capital? Are you talking about the hedge fund that blew up last month?
Billion-dollar hedge fund. And now they're on the run.
You're kidding. I thought they gave themselves up.
Nope. No one has seen them for days. And you know who that looks like a job for?
Yep. The police.
I was thinking more a mildly entertaining detective.
Oh, they didn't answer your calls, huh?
No, they screen robocallers.
All right. You know what? I'll do it.
Strange as it is, that's how the hunt for 3AC started. We start our story in Singapore at the front door of their office, and no one's home. As you can see, mail's been collecting from all the creditors that have been appearing trying to get their money. And crucially, the founders, Su Zhu and Kyle Davies of 3 Arrows Capital, are nowhere to be found, which, if you ask me, is pretty good timing because they just went bankrupt. They now owe people hundreds of millions to billions of dollars. But here's the thing, it wasn't always like this. Only months ago, these guys were the golden boys of crypto. Hell, 10 years ago, nobody even knew who these guys were. They were just a couple of traders in Tokyo working at Credit Suisse. So how did they go from that and transform themselves into one of the world's largest crypto hedge funds and then destroy it all in only a couple of months? Well, today we're going to find out. It was 10 years ago that the founders of 3 Arrows Capital decided they were tired of making money for someone else and quit their jobs to start their own hedge fund. They claim to have mostly used their own capital to start, a modest sum.
So we started with around $1 million of personal capital.
And almost immediately, they were very successful. Despite not having enough money to play in the big leagues that they wanted to get to, they weren't worried. 3 Arrows Capital was confident in 2 things: their ability to make money and their ability to borrow it if they couldn't make it.
Yeah, we had one period where we desperately needed to raise capital. It was prime brokers. And basically, one day they came to us and said, you need to have almost twice as much money as you have. And my mentality at the time was, well, just give me like 2 months. I think we made 100% return our first month and a half. Give me 2 more months, I'll make it for you. And they were like, no, in 2 weeks, you have to have that money or I close your account. And so I had to get on the phone. I raised it in a weekend, but I had to get on the phone. I called prop trading firms in Chicago, and I got 1 to wire us the funds by Monday.
And this attitude of pure confidence, either I can make you 100% in 2 months or I can go borrow it on a weekend, that was just kind of how they operated. And this attitude might sound arrogant, but because they were winning, it was honestly kind of contagious and earned them quite the reputation. They became really popular for their super bullish attitudes and became popular for promoting something called the super cycle in crypto. The supercycle was an idea pushed by their founder, Su Zhu, who believed that unlike most markets, which go through periods of boom and bust, bull and bear markets, crypto was different. They were on the verge of mass adoption, and because of that, crypto wasn't going to go through a bear market again. He says in a tweet explaining it, this is not yet another cycle, it is the end of cycles. The one where after Bitcoin flippins gold, it doesn't flip back. The one where Web3 supersedes Web2. And he would publicly say that he had tremendous conviction in this idea that things were only going to go up, and thought anyone who had low conviction was, quote, gross, to be honest. So I want you to ask yourself, what would you do if you're on a hot streak of trades, you're not afraid to borrow money, and you're convicted that the number's just going to go up? Well, you might do what 2HOURS Capital did, which was borrow as much money as you can and dump it into bullish crypto plays. You know, the Michael Saylor idea.
Go mortgage your house and buy Bitcoin with it.
Only they didn't do that because mortgaging your house is for poor people, but they did something a little more clever. 2HOURS Capital went to all of the biggest crypto lenders in town, from Celsius to Voyager and more, you know, the people we've been hearing about lately. And they told them all, hey, you guys know us, we're successful traders, we're low risk, and we need a loan. It's sort of the equivalent of going all around town and getting as many credit cards as you can and maxing them all out. And by the end, 2HOURS Capital had borrowed from 33 different lenders, a total of not one, not two, but $3.5 billion. And of course, the question is, what are they going to do with it? Well, they made one of the biggest bets of their entire life. They were going super long on the super cycle theory, except this time, it turns out they were wrong.
Crypto, or digital currencies, have now lost $2 trillion in value.
Holy crap, I literally just got wiped out.
The most destructive wealth event in the history of crypto, with probably about $50 billion just wiped out.
I think this is like a cascading effect, right? And I don't think it's honestly over yet.
When the crypto markets crashed in May of 2022, this led to a massive crisis for 2HOURS Capital, because all of a sudden, they weren't the profits that they thought they were. They didn't see it coming. Kyle Davies says this in an interview. The Terra Luna situation caught them very off guard, and their lenders noticed. All of a sudden, they start approaching them saying, hey, we're a little worried here. Can you get us our money back? And Kyle Davies tried to reassure them. He sent them a paper saying they had the money. I mean, it wasn't exactly a proof or anything. It was a one-page document that says they had a net asset value of $2.3 billion, which isn't much proof at all. And this was on May 13th, and it bought them about 5 days before someone realized that you can just make up numbers on papers and send it to people. And so on May 18th, some of their creditors approached them again, this time blockchain.com. They called Kyle up and said, hey, well, maybe you can give us some of our money back. And allegedly, Kyle told blockchain.com that if they recalled any of their loans, 2HOURS Capital would boycott all their products, basically threatening them. Because of this, blockchain.com decided to give them a longer time to repay. Fast forward another month, Kyle's trying to borrow 5,000 Bitcoin from one lender to try to pay a margin call to another lender, except he doesn't get it. And it's at this point that Kyle finally starts admitting to some of the lenders that if crypto markets keep declining, they wouldn't be okay. So naturally, what do all these lenders do? Well, they panic and try to get their money out. But this time is different. Instead of picking up the phone as usual with their confident responses of, oh, we have the money, or if we don't have the money, we're going to double our money in 2 months anyways, there's no answer at all. Instead, all they get is this. A tweet from Su Zhu. We are in the process of communicating with relevant parties and are fully committed to working this out. But the insiders knew this wasn't true. 2HOURS Capital wasn't in touch with anyone. It was like they had vanished off the face of the earth. One of their close associates said they had ghosted people. And because of this, these lenders, who now are left with $3.5 billion missing, now started to collapse themselves and have their own problems. We've already talked about this with Voyager and Celsius, just to name a few. And their last hope is to figure out where in the world these guys are with all of their money. And they could truly be anywhere, because as they declared bankruptcy, rumors started to come out that maybe 2HOURS Capital had been a little naughty with their money. According to reports, the duo had bought a series of mansions and a $50 million super yacht, which, according to a signed affidavit, this yacht was intended to be larger than any yacht owned by any Singapore billionaire, which is a strange flex coming from guys who now weren't billionaires. And since I know you're probably curious what a $50 million super yacht looks like, if you're okay with it, we'll take a tour of it as I explain what happens next. So if you just come aboard for a second, the 52 Steel San Lorenzo, you get 52 meters of stunning views and swimming pools, which is all allegedly purchased with borrowed money. Top it all off with stunning dining rooms, a full gym. But in my opinion, the main attraction here is this 2019 tweet from their new owner, Su Zhu. Quote, "Climate change talk is cheap, but sailing the seven seas on your yacht as an international fugitive is expensive." It's almost like he was dropping hints the whole time. But like I said, we don't even know if he's on this yacht as an international fugitive or if he's in one of his other super mansions. Because let's not forget, when he wasn't on this yacht, he was busy living in a multi-million-dollar bungalow that his 3-year-old owned. Which I guess I haven't explained yet. Su Zhu is the father of a multi-millionaire baby. This is all because there's a trust in his name that owns their multi-million-dollar bungalow. But obviously Su Zhu bought this house in the 3-year-old's name, so why do it this way? Well, speculation says that bankruptcy courts probably can't get access to it if it's in a trust. And that's not all. 2HOURS Capital has hired lawyers that have been allegedly advising them on how to help shield those assets from creditors, according to this signed affidavit, which, combined with the fact that nobody knows where these guys are, things are looking pretty dim. And all of this is just so sad, in my opinion, not just because they might get away with it, but because all this money that they owe isn't just a number on a screen, billions of dollars, whatever. It's really the bill that's coming due for regular investors, all due to the arrogance of two traders and the carelessness of these lending platforms who gave it to them. Because let's not get it twisted. Su Zhu and Kyle Davies were initially playing with their own money before all these crypto lenders gave them a bunch more of it. So it's not as if there's only one bad guy here. I mean, how could these lenders not do more due diligence on the people they're lending customer money to? I mean, Kyle Davies was literally sending one-page PDFs that said that they had $2.3 billion, and people just believed him. So that's on the one hand, the crypto lenders are at fault. But of course, on the other hand, it's pretty clear that 2HOURS Capital wasn't honest with the lenders either. And I could do the whole pitch for regulation here, but I'm kind of sick of doing that because you guys know that. The real truth of it, though, is the ones that are actually going to pay for all this, pay for these yachts, are the regular investors who put their hard-earned money into these lending platforms that now are bankrupt. But even in the best case scenario, if they cooperate, I guarantee the real winners are going to be the lawyers and Su Zhu and Kyle Davies, who are already trying to make claims against their own company that they are owed money. Anyways, that's basically the 2HOURS Capital story. Case closed. Well, that's one down, thousands more to go. But strangely enough, I feel different. Maybe Maxwell was right about needing to work again, or maybe it's just because the sun's coming out. Either way, things are looking a bit brighter.
If you're not a scammer, you can just skip this one. I guess we should clarify. If you don't rap, if you're not an influencer in LA, probably can just tap the skip one on this. Because I want to talk to the scammers, okay? For the scammers, listen. Everyone else left? Okay, guys. Look, I'm begging you. Y'all have to slow it down, okay? I'm at my wit's end here, okay? I need help, frankly, because I haven't slept in like 3 weeks. I haven't seen my wife in like a month. You guys are running so many scams right now. It's out of control. I can't talk about them all. Dude, I got influencers showing up on my timeline running a scam. They got 1 million subs. I'm like, dude, I can't fit you until January. Let me show you guys my schedule. 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., dude, I'm booked. Through December, dude, through Christmas, dude. I don't have time. You scam, I expose. That's how it's always been. But right now there's an imbalance because there's so many scams. I don't know what to do. You know, I'm supposed to have weekends. I'm supposed to have a life. Logan, Jake, Kyle, Steve, every rapper in existence, please. Hey, cut.
Guys, welcome to Coffeezilla. Welcome to another way you can lose $1,000. Today we're talking about Caleb Maddox, highly requested video. You know, the guy's older. Now he's selling a brand new course, the YTA method. Is it worth it? Is it a scam? We're gonna find out.
You could profit from YouTube without being a YouTuber or even spending a single dime on YouTube ads. And imagine you could do that without ever stepping in front of a camera, ever showing your face, ever editing even a single video, and without being good at technology at all.
Already hot off the gate with some wild promises. Apparently, this YTA method involves you being a YouTuber without doing anything that usually comes with being a YouTuber. But he goes on and pitches hard.
And for those of you guys who know anything about YouTube, you're saying, well, Caleb, isn't that everything that goes into it?
Yes!
Well, yeah, that's what went into it with the old way. But now there is a new way. And that new way is called the YTA method. I really believe that the YTA method is the greatest opportunity of our era.
Okay, big promises here, the greatest opportunity of our era. I'll be the judge of that. Okay, Caleb, don't be making such a wild promises here. So what is the YTA method? I had to join Caleb's webinar to find out. So one of the first things we're told in this webinar is, hey, this isn't a kid's game.
Here's the deal. People are leaving so much money on the table by thinking YouTube is just for kids.
Sure, Caleb Maddox faked a $10,000 sales call when he was 14.
If you hand Caleb a $10,000 check, he'll hand you a $100,000 check. Would you end up doing this deal?
Sure, he was a bit cringy back then.
Whenever there's a traffic jam, I don't get worried.
But that is all behind him. Now that's the old Caleb, or the young Caleb. Now he's older and he's wiser. In fact, he's so wise that he posted a video called, "This one video is more valuable than 4 years of college," without ever going to college. You know how smart you have to be to make a video like that? To know that a video is more valuable than 4 years of college, having never gone to college?
I feel like this is maybe the most important thing. I think this, honestly, maybe till we die, out of every podcast we ever do, this might be the most valuable. I would attribute everything I've ever gotten in my entire life, everything, to 5 words that we're gonna say today. Just 5 words.
And what that video boils down to are 5 steps that are apparently more valuable than a Harvard education. Number 1, you have to desire. Number 2, you have to ask. Number 3, faith. Number 4, sow. Number 5, reap. Boom. Saved you 4 years right there. And Caleb wants you to know that he's not going to risk his reputation with a quick cash grab on this. No.
I refuse to risk my reputation. I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys anything that I do not fully believe. I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys something that's just kind of a little bit twisted or a little bit out of integrity.
He's 100% ethical. He wants you to know that his mentors are watching.
I know that some of my mentors are on here.
And soon after this, we learned that the mysterious YTA method we've been hearing so much about from this new Caleb Maddox, new and improved, older, wiser Caleb Maddox, is YouTube automation.
That is the new way. That is YouTube automation.
That's right. Why create content yourself when you can let someone else create it for you and blow up your channel and make all this money? Now you might look at Caleb Maddox's channel and say, hey, this guy only has 25K subscribers after being on the platform for 8 years. I mean, how is this guy gonna make me a full-time income on YouTube? Well, Caleb brought in a guru, sort of a guru to the guru. His name is Devin.
I met this dude who's become a close friend of mine. His name is Devin. My man made $480,000 off one YouTube channel, but that's when he showed me 2 more channels that were making him money. Every one of his dozens of channels are fully automated.
It's Devin you'll be learning from. But curiously enough, Caleb never mentions his last name or what kind of channels Devin has automated. He shows a lot of screenshots of Devin making all this money, but never actually tells us what type of channel it is or what types of videos they are. So how is Devin making all this money? What kind of niche is he in? Well, that's where yours truly had to put in a lot of footwork.
I will look for you. I will find you.
And thanks to my proprietary guru research formula, I finally found him. I basically just searched up his name and found his Instagram and matched up the pictures. And do you know what you find when you find who Devin really is? You find that Devin also doesn't want you to know what his YouTube channels are, but luckily there's a YouTube video talking about all the money he makes and showing all his channels, and he's trying to gray out the information, but Someone slipped up on the editing side here, and maybe it's because you paid a guy $5 on Fiverr to edit the whole thing. I mean, that's the whole idea. He probably automated the video, and it doesn't exactly give you a quality product. So we will be the beneficiaries of where the editor slipped up. So we can finally unveil what the hidden niche is, what the big secret is all about. What is
the greatest opportunity of our era?
Are you ready? Are you ready? Drum roll, please. Okay, prepare yourself. Greatest income opportunity of our generation. Reddit videos. Like, you know, where people repost content from Reddit to YouTube. That's the type of video, yeah. It's the opportunity of our era. And not like you Reddit videos like PewDiePie does, you know, where they comment or make jokes about Reddit posts. No, nothing transformative. We're talking about text-to-speech, the laziest possible Reddit videos where the whole Reddit post is read by a robot.
Ex-inmates of Reddit, what was the stupidest thing you've seen a new inmate do on his first day in prison?
That's the income opportunity. Sorry. We're supposed to be taking this very seriously. Caleb Maddox is a serious guy.
The greatest opportunity of our era.
Full ethics. He's got ethics.
I refuse to risk my reputation. I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys anything that I do not fully believe.
Okay, ethics. He wouldn't sell an $1,000 product if it wasn't a top-notch product.
I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys something that's just kind of a little bit twisted or a little bit out of integrity.
So we're supposed to be taking this seriously. The greatest income opportunity of our generation. It's not Amazon. It's not sales. It's not computer coding. It's not going to college, okay? You can watch a YouTube video more valuable than college. The greatest income opportunity of our generation are text-to-speech Reddit videos. That's just the truth. It's just the truth, okay? Caleb Maddox would know you guys. Guys, this is not some great opportunity. This is just a way to create lazy content, to try to cheat the system while you can, but the shelf life of this stuff is always short. Already, Devin is having monetization problems, which Caleb conveniently forgets to mention.
Then there was this one. We ran into a big issue. It got demonetized.
And of course, I can't speak to exactly why. I don't know exactly why he's having problems, but it's probably because in 2019, YouTube made a change to their monetization rules where text-to-speech robot voices are now against their terms of service, which means that basically all of the videos that this guy has profited from, a lot of them are now unmonetizable, at least the ones we know of. Look, you may make a little bit of money, but you probably won't. Usually by the time you guys hear of this, the real opportunity has dried up. And now let's go back to Caleb, who's been promoting all this stuff as some miracle source of income. I mean, he's reselling the obvious idea of Reddit copy pasta that you outsource on Fiverr and Upwork, and then he's selling that for $997, $1,000 to people who don't know any better, to people who don't know that a lot of this opportunity has already dried up, to people who trust that when somebody like Caleb says with so much confidence,
and I can say that with full integrity, I can say that boldly and feel like I'm completely ethical.
They think he means it. They assume he means it. And it's just scummy. And I think, look, I mean, to be honest with you guys, I think in some ways it's not Caleb's fault. Caleb Maddox is like the bane of the motivational guru space. Unlike other gurus who've adopted the hype, the false sales pitches and advertising, Caleb was born in this. Since a baby, he was raised in this insane motivational world where false promises and overhyped results are the norm, not the exception. So maybe it shouldn't be a shock to us that he faked a $10,000 phone call. Maybe it shouldn't be a shock that he's passing off Reddit videos as the opportunity of our era. He's the product of a world that cares about image over substance, that cares about shortcuts over long-term success, and believes that advertising shouldn't be held accountable for what it promises. But guys, have no fear. In the end, in the darkest of days, a hero rises.
And that hero might be you if you joined Coffeezilla's fake guru course, a $111 million value for only $997. This offer will not last long, so join now. You didn't think I'd forget about this course, did you? The only thing to do in order to register for my webinar is like, subscribe, and click the link in the description to lock in your seat. Spots are limited, and I can guarantee that this webinar will be more valuable than 4 years of college. You're welcome. This offer will...
Today we're talking about 5G BioShield, which is a website that recently popped up that calls itself the first to market full spectrum protection. This thing only has 128 megabytes in the USB, comes in at a price of £283, or roughly $300 if you want to buy it, which makes it the world's most expensive USB per the amount of storage you get. But that's not really why people are buying it. And people are snatching this thing up left and right. If you go to their testimonial page, they already have quite a few testimonials. The real reason people are buying it is because they claim to prevent 5G from touching you using force field technology. I mean, let's read it. It uses a nanolayer quantum holographic catalyzer technology for the balance and harmonization of the harmful effects of imbalanced electric radiation. The nanolayer operating diameter is either 8 to 40 meters. Now, that seems like a big difference, and that's why they show the small personal force field or the big force field for your house. And what they say the difference is if you plug in the USB or not. Apparently, this is a technology so advanced, you don't even need it to be plugged in. It's working even if it's not plugged in. So if you're just carrying it in your pocket, you're protected from 5G. But then if you actually plug it in, you're even more protected from 5G. Can you believe it? Now, the reason this is the news is that this website, Pentest Partners, took the USB apart and found out that, hey, surprise, surprise, it's just a regular 128 megabyte USB key. It doesn't actually create magical force fields. And of course, in response to the serious allegations made against them, the 5G BioShield company said, they want to release the information that shows how this thing works. They want to release a great deal of technical information with plenty of backup historical research. But unfortunately for all of us, they're unable to disclose this sensitive information to third parties. God. They want to tell you how it works. Seriously, they do. They're dying to tell you how it works, but they can't because, it's IP, baby. It's IP. And I mean, yes, you can find the same USB stick online in AliExpress for $2 to $5. But you know what? What's the point of that? Because it doesn't have the nanocrystallography layered technology. How's it going to create a force field without that? All in all, guys, I mean, I just don't see it. People are calling these grifters. I don't see it. I mean, look, they're putting proprietary holographic layer technology on it. I don't understand how this is a scam at all. And if it doesn't work for you, just remember what they say on their website. Some users immediately feel the effects in the form of calm, harmony, and serenity. But other users, those of us who have been more exposed to the 5G, more physically impaired, will have to wait several days or even weeks for the body's revitalization mechanisms to be fully effective. Therefore, patience and perseverance are recommended to everyone in order to benefit maximally from the multiple effects generated by the 5G BioShield. You know what? I think that the $300 price point is definitely, obviously justified. The amount of technology that went into designing the sticker that they attach to this 5G USB stick. They may get it for $5 on AliExpress, but the sticker, boys, the nano layer holographic technology sticker, it's worth every penny. That's not to say that nobody's scamming you, though, because I want to show you today who you really need to watch out for. This is the look, there's 5G BioShield, but there's also these competitors who are trying to rip them off. This is a competitor. The Resotone Shield does not work. Scam alert. Now, the 5G BioShield works. I mean, look at their logos. Lion. Polar bear. Really, do you trust a polar bear over a lion? These guys are these are the scammers. Legit, obviously scammers. Look at that USB key. Clearly of inferior quality. Not a 5G shield. 5G shield? Oh, of course. Obvious. I mean, look at this product. Trustworthy product. That's smoke. Trustworthy. Scam. Trustworthy. Scam. I mean, look, they even copied their logo. I'm sickened by this. Who would do such a thing? Whatever you guys do, don't buy from the polar bear. And as always,
don't forget to smash like and subscribe.
Honestly, I wish people would just ask me, hey, Steven, is this a good idea? I'm about to sell out my entire brand for a few $1,000s, maybe even a few $1 million. Is this a good idea? And I would tell them, no. Terrible idea. Such is the case with Kevin O'Leary, who has become a national embarrassment recently. And let me also say, I understand that becoming a national embarrassment is hard to do. Like, most of us, we could never be national embarrassments. At best, I'm a local embarrassment to my mother, the friends who know me. It's hard to be a national embarrassment. You already have to be nationally known. And so most people, we don't even qualify. But Kevin O'Leary definitely is in the running because he's already a massive star thanks to Shark Tank. You guys know the show, right? It's like the WWE of venture capitalism.
People hate this product. I hate it too.
You know, investor comes on, pours out his life's work, and
this is a bad idea.
They're always like, yeah, I want like 100% of your equity for $5,000.
Here's my offer for 100% of Rock Block.
And that's the show, and it's fun, it's hilarious. But one of the things that annoys me is the way that these sharks have been selling out their reputations. Maybe because they're not getting paid enough. Maybe they need a bigger yacht. Maybe they need a bigger house. I don't know what it is. But now that they're all massive celebrities, they've been selling out their image and moving totally away from this idea that they had when they were sharks. Like, oh, we're no-nonsense business guys. Into selling out their brand to the highest bidder, no matter how scrupulous or unscrupulous they were. We already covered Robert Herjavec, who was caught in a little real estate scheme. But you should also know other sharks are also doing this. Damon John also endorsed Jason Bond picks, which if you guys know stocks, you know what a joke that guy is.
All right, listen, before I contacted Jason, I'm a shark, right? You know I have no problem about, ripping somebody apart or just saying I'm out.
No, you're a sellout for money.
You know, instead of having to go to the office every day and talking to full staff or worrying about who buys this shirt or what new company I invest in, I'm going to be sitting on my yacht trading.
Well, guys, it's that easy. Just forget about a business, trade from your yacht. So that's a massive L right there. But nothing is worse at all, pales in comparison to what I'm about to show you guys today. Because Kevin O'Leary has taken sellout to the extreme and gotten himself on Cameo. Now, guys, if you don't know what Cameo is, it's like a place where you can get birthday shout-outs from the boy band from the 90s that you used to like, and your friend still likes them, so you get them best wishes for a birthday or whatever on Cameo for like $90.
Happy birthday!
Okay, that's what you're supposed to do on Cameo if you have an ounce left of self-respect. What Kevin O'Leary is doing on Cameo is charging $1,200 for business shout-outs for any business that you want.
Hey everybody, Mr. Wonderful here. Hey, Mr. Wonderful here. Hey, Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank here. Busy kid. And that's what Trading is all about. Millcroft Lawn Care. Prunosa. It's a website that personalizes and helps you grow your business. It's the only app where your kids can track their chores. Look, please call Anthony or visit his website, www.burlingtonlawncare.com. Now, if you're a plastic surgeon, you're going to want to hear me on this thing. I'm shouting out for a service called Plastic Surgeon Ad Experts. It's been,
Like, what? You're shouting out for plastic surgeon ad... Who? Kevin, what do you know about these guys? Besides the script they gave you to read.
You have to generate leads, and you want to do that efficiently, productively, and you want your customer acquisition cost to be as efficient as possible. And that's exactly what surgeon ad experts do. So check out Plastic Surgeon Ad Experts because they're focused on your vertical if you're a plastic surgeon. Check it out.
I mean, am I crazy here? This is embarrassing. Like, he doesn't even disclose the fact that he's being paid to do this, right? Like, if I'm shouting out, I don't know, Blue Moon, to use a offhand example, I have to tell you, I'm sponsored by Blue Moon. I'm not going to say, hey, I'm doing a shout out for my friends over at Blue Moon. They're not my friends. They're paying me to say this. And look, it goes on and on.
Hey, Mr. Wonderful here. And one of the things that everybody's thinking about is, can I get a side hustle?
Who are you shouting out now? Come on, Kevin, tell us who.
I'm doing one for Side Hustle app.
Oh, great. Side Hustle app paid him to do this. And why would he do this, right? Why would people pay so much money for this? Because $1,200 is a lot if you're just going to keep this Cameo to yourself. Because that's what Cameos are meant to do. But that's not how people are using Kevin O'Leary's shout-outs, and he knows that. They use them to endorse their own business. Look at this. E-Trio gets a shout-out from Mr. Wonderful. Shark Tank's most beloved Kevin O'Leary gives a big shout-out to Satha Yalanamachili. Okay, check it out.
Hi, Mr. Wonderful here, and I love to celebrate entrepreneurship. And I mean globally. So here's a really interesting shout-out.
Hey, buddy, you're not doing a shout-out. You are doing thousands of sponsorship posts and selling out your brand to trick consumers. Let's be clear about what you're doing. It's not you like how he does that? Like, it's a great shout out. Interesting shout out I have going on here. Not what you're doing, buddy.
So here's a really interesting shout out.
Look at this. They spelled his name wrong, literally, of Shark Tank, endorses eTrio. And look, why wouldn't they say that? They paid $1,200 to say that. And Kevin knows they paid to say that. I can't even tell you how many people lately I've seen do this, where they get Kevin O'Leary specifically. He's like the king of this, of these fake shout-outs.
Hi, Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank here. Has sold nearly 1,000 different products on Amazon alone. Check out Sophie's book.
Thank you for the kind words, Kevin.
There it is. You can pretend like the endorsement was all natural. What? I paid for it? What do you mean? This is just what Kevin O'Leary, me and Kevin O'Leary, we're just tight like this. We're just tight like this because he never says it's a sponsorship. He just says it's a shout out. So you can do what this lady's doing and put it in your YouTube ad. Oh, yes. Dude, he has sold out the soul of this show and just been like, hey, you know, it stood for real people making real companies. Forget all that. I'll sell you I'll sell you a shout out for $1,200. You kidding me? And look, he's got 157 reviews on here. And if you think that, you know, on average, probably 1 in 10 people review a product, we can actually find out how much he's made from this whole sellout, right? So if 1 out of 10 people actually reviewed it, then we have 1,500 people who actually bought it. $1,200 a pop. Kevin O'Leary's made $2 million from his quick little sellout there. And honestly, I do get the hustle. Listen, what I am going to say, though, is you have to accept the responsibility for what you do. So if all you want to do is shout outs on Cameo, okay. But then you can't pretend to be the investor that we're all supposed to take seriously. You can't be the guy whose word we're supposed to be like, oh, if he endorses that product, it's a big deal. Dude, this guy will endorse human poop if it paid him $1,200. And I'm not sure that that's an exaggeration even. Because Kevin has endorsed some doozies, dude. Check this out. This is Done For You agency launch. Already we see kind of Kevin over there. We'll get to him in a second. But look at this guy, okay? This guy's some 25-year-old nothing. And look at this picture, right? Look at this picture that he's got right here. Now, do you notice anything funny about this picture? Like he's clearly talking to some interviewer or something like that. Here's a little entrepreneur. Oh, sure, he's wearing AirPods. That's a little bit weird, right? But I'm not going to hate on him for that. But look over, wait, sorry, I can't see properly. Right here. You see something wrong with that bookshelf? This is an entrepreneur who has green screened himself into a fake interview for fake social clout. This is a lie. It is a green screen set. Now, listen, am I going to judge someone with a green screen set? You're damned right I will. Dude, you can't trust someone with a green screen set. Let me be the first to say it. And yet, we have Mr. Sellout here who approves the whole thing. Andrew Pavia is Mr. Wonderful approved.
Social media now is an incredibly powerful force if you know how to harness it. So I'm doing a shout out for Andrew Pavia, an interesting entrepreneur.
Oh,
Andrew sold his...
Very interesting entrepreneur. Don't you think Kevin's probably done a lot of research into Andrew Pavia? He's done that due diligence. He's done the due diligence of the Done For You agency launch's 5-year plan, right? Oh, yeah. Very interesting entrepreneur. Very interesting, Kevin.
First digital lead business when he's 21 years old. Jim leads fast. And he's become almost a consultant to those that use digital platforms.
He's almost become a consultant. Dude, you're reading off a teleprompter, Kevin. It's enough. This is embarrassing. Stop it. Stop it. Like, at some point, you have sold out too much, right? Like, don't pretend you know all this guy's history. He's giving you a script to read for $1,200. Let's be clear with the consumer what this is. Why should we respect these celebrity entrepreneurs if they're going to turn around and sell out their image for nothing? For $1,200, dude, I can't imagine. Listen, I get that he's making tons of money, and God bless him for it. But for me, it kind of ruins Shark Tank when I see all the entrepreneurs on Shark Tank selling out their brand for nothing. I don't know. I want to hear what you guys think. Am I exaggerating things? I honestly do think Kevin O'Leary for selling out his name this many times, this is national embarrassment territory. Like I said, I know it's a stretch. I know it's a high bar. Not many people have reached the pantheon of national embarrassment. Most people have only reached the state level or the local level or the council, the city council level. But Kevin O'Leary, I think, in my opinion, he's gone all the way to the tippity top. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And just remember, guys, you can't believe everything you see on the internet.
And don't forget to smash like.
What can I say? Kind of called this one, didn't I? We predicted this bloodbath, okay? It's why I'm wearing red. I mean, honestly, a few hours ago, this shirt was pure white. But it's been bad in the markets if you're a BitClout holder. If you're Clouter, Steven Clouter, you're not having a good time, okay? It was crypto's Fire Fest. Look, they promised influencers, they promised the world, and they delivered on pretty much nothing. Today, it's almost like a post-mortem. Listen, they're still holding on. They're still holding on by a thread, but the writing's on the wall, ladies and gentlemen, and we're going to talk about it right now. Let's get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the $10 million studio. I'm your host, Coffeezilla, the internet detective. And today we're talking, of course, about BitClout. Guys, it was worth $177 when I covered it in March. Remember, that was around when they launched. The current price of BitClout is $73, giving you an ROI, if you invested, of negative 59%, which I think is just swell. Some of the best you see these days. Ladies and gentlemen, just remember, and this is really important. Let's bring down the board here. This is a coin here that was backed, or should I say platform. They call themselves a social platform, decentralized social media. They were backed by some of the biggest brains in the world. The guys who are on top figuring out what the next trend is. You got people like A16Z, Chamath, the Winky Twins. They all collectively decided that it was a good idea to trust the guy, their leader, who goes by the name of Diamond Hands. Well, turns out it actually wasn't. Now, there are about 1 million metrics you could measure the failure of BitClout by, not the least of which is the price. But I think the worst metric for them is clout, ironically enough. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a graph of their search terms. And as you can see, they've just slowly sort of been sliding into obscurity, both on Google and more broadly. People just aren't interested in it. People really just aren't talking about it the way they used to. And I think part of that is, we'll start with the failure, why it failed. I think part of it's due to the rocky launch where they just stole a lot of people's identities. I don't know if you guys remember that. They took the top like several thousand public profiles, took their Twitter profiles and just threw them on the site and let people invest in them before people even knew they were being used on BitClout, which led to some pretty ironic results. Like right now, even now, the top creators of all time on BitClout are people who have not joined BitClout. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The #1 invested profiles are Elon Musk and Naval, who both, thanks to that little clock icon, have not joined. They have not okayed their likeness and their public persona to be used by BitClout to make money. But here they are, the #1 and #2. It's completely absurd. And I think that their vision of like this decentralized social media, which I actually think is kind of a good idea, I think it really got overshadowed by this hustle for money. Because look, I've spent a lot of time on BitClout just looking at what people are saying. I don't have any BitClout, but I just like watch. I'm interested. What are people talking about? And honestly, it's Twitter, but worse. I mean, on Twitter, yes, everybody's self-promoting. But on BitClout, everyone's self-promoting, so you'll invest in them. So you'll invest in their creator coin. That's why anyone's on BitClout, or why most of them are on BitClout. They're so they can get rich on BitClout. So everything's like about like self-promotion times 10 to the max. And it's just kind of cringy. It's like just everyone's constantly pitching to you. And no one thought of like the normal user's experience, you know, like non-famous people, you have to get them on board. Why are they going to join when everyone's constantly like shilling to get your money? I don't know. It was this really weird thing when I realized that that's what this had sort of become. Kind of had bad incentives from the start, a bad launch. But ladies and gentlemen, since this is a post-mortem, I also think there's something else we all need to look at here. And that is what BitClout did with all this money they've made. Remember from my last video, we talked about a wallet that BitClout got that got basically $200 million in Bitcoin from people who were trying to invest in their silly new idea. And they successfully raised all this money. But But I think the question is, what are they doing with that money? Well, according to Decrypt, this is from several months ago, Diamond Hands did an interview with them. They're talking about, at the time, it was only $170 million stash. I know, kind of a joke, right? But anyway, Diamond Hands assured Decrypt that neither he nor BitClout's developers would use it to pay themselves, saying their financial incentives are instead tied to the success of the BitClout token. So basically, they have, now it's like $200 million, all this money sitting in a bank, Bitcoin wallet, and they said, guys, trust us. We're not, hey, trust us. Don't worry, we're not going to do anything with it. And that's, of course, when they were telling you guys they were decentralized. They're a decentralized organization where they control the keys to where all the money is, right? That's how this works. But I think we have to watch these guys because I think they're going to do something with that money. They're sure not going to let it sit there forever. And just recently, they started moving a bunch of Bitcoin out of it. They have before, but I think this is the largest amount they've moved out since. They moved out 599 Bitcoin out of this wallet with all this money. By the way, 599 Bitcoin is about $28 million, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, exactly. Chump change for these guys. So I tried to trace down where some of it was going. Here we go. I put together a little map here. This is the wallet where all this money was. They, as you can see, they sent 598 Bitcoin here to this wallet over here. And then that wallet was then sent that same money over here. We double click on that. And then as you can see, this wallet now sends Bitcoin to a number of different addresses. 221 Bitcoin here, 360 Bitcoin here. But anyway, the point is we have no idea where this money's going or ultimately what it's being used for. That's the great thing about having a founder who's anonymous, right? Is you don't know what they're going to do with the money that they've raised, and you can rely on their promises all day that supposedly they're not going to take a paycheck, but we have no idea what they're going to do with this money. Diamond Hands apparently said that they had plans to use the Bitcoin stash for good, but he declined to say if such good would come from donating the money to a Save the Whales style charity work, oh boy, or from starting a foundation to promote the BitClout token, which other projects have done in the past. Guys, we don't know what he's going to use it for. That's the point. And the other point is that $28 million just got moved from that wallet, and I'm sure a lot more will get moved soon as well. Because frankly, ladies and gentlemen, BitClout's days may be numbered here. They started really high, as we said, huge launch because everyone thought these huge influencers were on there. Turns out they weren't really, and the ones that were just wanted to make a quick buck off their followers. And then it just kind of stagnated, and then now the coin is crashing. So with that happening, it'll be interesting to follow that wallet and see where that money's going. But ladies and gentlemen, that's basically all I wanted to cover for this, is let you guys know what was going on. I gotta say, kind of called this one. Hope you guys didn't lose money. Thank you so much for watching Save Your Clout, and I will see you guys in the next one. Welcome back to the $10 million studio. I'm your internet detective, the guy you count on to deliver you the facts of the case. Here with my $10 million studio mug. Hope you got something to drink, guys. Hope you got something handy, because we're getting into it today. Only the biggest dramas on Trending Tuesdays. That's how we roll now. We're a drama channel, basically. So right off to get into it, let's go to the big boy desk. Come on. Let's go. Come with me. There we go. Look at that high-level production. Paid way too much money for this. What big drama are we talking about today? Well, I got a few topics for you guys. One big drama. Look at this guy. Quitting YouTube.
This might be the last time I'm saying this.
Oh, yeah. You got to have the sad piano. Good job, man. Following the template.
Until next time.
Goodbye. It says, thanks for the 15 years. Goodbye. Of course, it's trending, as usual. 3 million views, whatever. He's so sad. He's so, he's leaving forever. He says this might be the last time he says it. Oh, my God.
If you're not smiling, you're doing it wrong.
You're crying. You're not doing it right then. You're doing it wrong. Stay safe, be happy. I'll see you in 2021, probably. I thought this was a goodbye video. I thought, what is this?
All right, I'm gonna take the thumbnail. Hold on.
Why does he have this in the video? Hey guys, I'm gonna manipulate my audience. I gotta take the thumbnail real quick of me crying. Hold on. Gotta get that light right. Oh. I can't believe it. Goodbye, guys. Alex Wasabi slates month-long YouTube hiatus. Guys, YouTubers going on vacation isn't news. I mean, I think we should be allowed to go on vacation, but you don't need to cry. Imagine if you, at your job, every time before you left for vacation, you go into your office, you go, boss, this might be the last time I see you. And if you're not smiling, you're not doing it right. I can't even pretend. Imagine how stupid that would be. This is what YouTubers do. I don't know. I'm saying anyone who fakes a goodbye from the internet deserves jail time. Just going to say that right now. Okay? Anyways, now, next drama. Oh, hello. Bet you didn't expect to see me here. Look, I'm from the future. I'm not even in uniform right now because, guys, unfortunately, a big drama happened last night that we have to throw into the story, cut in the mix. So apologize if this doesn't flow perfectly, but we got to talk about Call Me Carson. Twitter lost its mind last night when allegations came out that this popular YouTuber with like 5 million subscribers groomed a 17-year-old. Now, everybody, of course, lost their minds and said, oh, this is terrible, it's terrible. Until it came out that he was 19 when it happened. So he was 19 years old talking to a 17-year-old. And of course, as you know from the internet, they're very good at having very rational, nuanced discussions about matters of the law.
Oh my God!
Yeah, so anyway, very nuanced, balanced discussion was had. And of course, the hot takes from the internet had to come out before we had even heard anybody else's side of the story. Call Me Carson may be a pedo? Allegations. Call Me Carson allegations. A neutral take. Drama alert, Call Me Carson. Call Me Carson is not a pedo. Call Me Carson is allegedly a pedo. Call Me Carson is definitely a pedo. Call Me Carson is a pedo? So I wanted to talk about this real quick because it's a big drama. Not that I really care, because I think a lot of this is overblown and kind of dumb. There's a bit of a wrinkle because, of course, he sent pictures back and forth with this minor. So let's talk about that real quick. Okay, number one, a 19-year-old talking to a 17-year-old is not big news, guys. When you talk about these things, the difference in age matters, guys. Back in my day, all right, I'm an old boomer now, married up, locked it up. But I was dating my high school sweetheart, who eventually became my wife. And yeah, she's 6 months older than me. We didn't happen to be born on the same day. So there was a time where we could have exposed her, guys. We missed our opportunity. But where she was 18 and I was still a minor. And guys, guess what? We were still talking. Does that make her a groomer? Does that make her a pedo? No, dude, no. The only reason anyone's making a big deal out of it is because this guy's internet famous. So I'm going to go ahead and say that is off the table. That doesn't matter. Then you have this thing of like sending, pics. Okay, now obviously I can't relate because me and my wife, we didn't even hold hands until we got married. But, for the rest of you heathens out there, I know some of you are tempted, okay? You go ahead and send the snaps. So what do we do about that, all right? Look, it's my opinion. I know this is going to sound crazy, but if you're going to go out and say that it's not a big deal if a 19-year-old has sex with a 17-year-old, then is it a big deal that they exchanged pictures? I think that's kind of a weird thing. Look, I know all of you guys are lawyers, and I know all of you are cops, and you perfectly understand the balance between age of consent and Romeo and Juliet laws, which say that the age gap matters, and I know you guys understand where Carson lives and all that kind of stuff. I don't care. That's not what I'm into. I'm into, do we really care? Do I care that a 19-year-old was sharing pictures with a 17-year-old and vice versa? No, it happens literally every day. And probably most of you guys who are throwing stones and saying, oh, this guy's evil, have probably done it too. You were 18 and the girl was 17, or vice versa, which happens also all the time. So the only thing left in this drama is that Carson is an internet celeb, guys. Now, I would know a little thing or two about being an internet celeb, so let me tell you, this is where my boy messed up, okay? And this is honestly why I don't talk to any of you. I have a rule, never talk to your fans ever. Don't engage. Just if they come up to you on the street, say, hey, Steven, I want to... No, I'm out. And it's just, you don't do it because there is that weird power dynamic thing that everyone's been talking about lately. I do think that that is a real thing. It exists, even though it sounds like a book written by L. Ron Hubbard. Yeah, power dynamics between fans and their object of worship, their celebrity. I know we're just in this celebrity obsessed culture now. So, that's real. And so I think that was a mistake. But I also think he was 19 years old. I don't think that's getting its proper attention here. The dude was 19. When I was 19, I was dumb as a box of rocks. If I was judged on that forever, people are trying to say, lock him up. Lock him up, guys. Oh, the cops are coming, Carson. You're going to be locked up. No, it's dude, this guy, he's young. He's figuring out life. Should he have done it? No, of course not. But people are acting like he was some puppet master. People are going, he groomed her. He was like a puppet master grooming. You're talking about some 31-year-old talking to a 15-year-old. No, dude, this is some awkward, and you can read the chat logs because, of course, they've been leaked. This guy is some awkward, cringy guy who doesn't know how to handle, relationships with women. And you can tell. I don't think this is some master puppeteer of fans. I think it was a mistake. I don't think he should have done it. I think he should, in the future, better understand his relationship with his fans. But is this a big drama? I'm honestly disappointed with Drama Tuesdays or Trending Tuesdays right now because I feel is this really what everyone's freaking out about? I don't know. I don't get it. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe you think that I haven't understood the complexities of the law here. And since you guys are lawyers, I want you to explain it to me in the comments below. Explain to me where I'm wrong. Because, of course, the Minecraft community has been known for its nuance and understanding takes. So, whatever. Next, drama. Dream, the Minecraft YouTuber. Oh, yes, we're getting deep inside of this. I found a secret, never before released video I really want to talk about, guys, because I really care about Minecraft speedrunning. I may never have played the game, may never have followed any of it, but I deeply care. Okay, so let's check this out together.
Here we go. You don't know me, fool.
What is this?
You disown me? Cool. I don't need your assistance, social persistence. Any problem I got, I just put my fist in. My life is violence, but violence is life. Peace is a dream.
Okay, I can't even play, dude. I can't even get through 2 topics on Trending Tuesdays before I want to go back to what I want to talk about. And what I want to talk about is this guy. That's what I want to talk about, guys. We haven't talked about it in a long time. Look, I started the London Real Saga because I was just fascinated by what was going on. But I feel like I've left a lot of you hanging. And mostly it's just because I wanted to just let the grift be the grift. But lately he's done some things that we have to talk about. I'm sorry, guys. No Minecraft. Maybe Minecraft next Trending Tuesdays, guys. Maybe we'll talk about the big drama in the Minecraft community. Because I know you guys care about that. But today, we gotta address this man right here.
Where have you left me? What have I got? Last night in cold blood, my younger brother got shot. My homeboy got jacked. My mother's on crack. My sister can't work cause her arm showed tracks. Madness, insanity, live in profanity. Then some punk claiming they understand me? Give me a break. What world do you live in? Death is my sect. Now guess my religion. Colors.
Oh my gosh. Okay, we got to give credit to the guy who made that, first of all. Thank you for doing that. That was beautiful. Joe Whitaker, he did this. Oh, my gosh. So funny, my guy. That is amazing. Guys, if you don't know, Brian Rose, he's running for mayor. And, I haven't been talking about it because I don't want to call attention to it. Look, really, no one's covered this guy. You look up Brian Rose for mayor. The only thing talking about Brian Rose for mayor is Brian Rose. But he's been recently making some bold claims. Real bold, guys. He says he's winning the election.
Hey, I just wanted to check in with everyone and let you know that we are winning.
Please tell me this isn't real.
And on May 7th, we plan to move into City Hall and become your next mayor for London. At this point, there are only 2 people in this race. The current mayor of London, the incumbent, and us.
is that true? Is that real? I'm sure many of you, like me, are getting triggered right now. Is it true that Brian Rose, his digital freedom platform, is becoming the official internet of London? I don't know.
And we are soon to be actually moving into first place. Check the odds, check the bookies out there. Every day, we become more and more likely to become your next mayor of London.
So, okay, you get the point, guys. We don't have to play any more of that clip. He says, check the odds, check the bookies. We're number 2, guys, and we're about to move into number 1. We're about to move in to first place and move in to win the whole thing. So my thought was, this needs some investigation, and there's only one man to do it. It's me, the internet detective. So I dug into it. I dug into his policies. I wanted you to know, listen, hey, worst case scenario, what happens if the megalomaniac goes and he becomes the mayor of London, right? Well, after some long research, I discovered his policy platform, Transform London 2021. Sorry, Brian, I'm in your way here. His vision for London. So I decided we'd go through it together because I think it's very interesting what he's got going on, guys. I think you should be very worried if I were you. The following is my Transform London 2021 plan of attack. Now, I'm going to be honest. The policies were so vague that I did have to interpret them a little bit. Because it was just a bunch of boilerplate stuff. I didn't understand it. So I did hire some experts to try to figure out what Brian actually means. Okay, so he says he's going to get London back to work. How's he going to do that? Well, he's going to reinvigorate this economy of this great city by forcing everyone to start a podcast and asking them to take Brian Rose's business course. 50% of all profits will be donated to the Freedom Platform. So if you're the podcast he gave, this is good news for you. You should vote for Brian. Health first. We will create the most resilient citizens in the world who are physically and mentally robust, always prepared for times of crisis. We will do this by asking them to drink their own urine on a daily basis. Yeah, that's right, guys. I mean, Brian Rose understands health on a, psychological level, mental level, spiritual level. And, he's not going to let you go to pot. So you got to drink your piss like he does every day. This is a real thing, by the way. You think I'm joking?
Okay, I'm here at London Real World headquarters waiting for Mr. Timothy Sheaf, and I have a glass of a beverage. This is my own urine.
Yeah, that's a real thing that really happened. I think he's deleted the video so far, but hey, it's the internet detective. We figured it out. So yeah, you got to do that. There'll also be breakdancing every third Saturday, where you're required to head spin for 30 seconds. Huh. I don't know. That seems to play to Brian's strengths a little bit. In fact, not only does he want you to breakdance, anyone who runs for mayor from now on has to be able to breakdance. Look, he says it in a video. Show me a mayor who can do that. He wants to challenge Sadiq Khan to a breakdancing battle where he thinks he play to his strengths a little bit here. You must be able to head spin for at least 30 seconds if you're going to be mayor, and more importantly, if you're going to be a citizen of London. Otherwise, you might get locked up. Next on the agenda, we got science first. And again, this is just if Brian Rose gets elected. Calm down. It's not going to happen, but if he does, he will make London safe again by implementing rigorous science-based decisions when it comes to setting policies. We believe there's been a disproportionate response to the 5G corona scare. Oh, wow. Okay, Brian. That has caused the loss of countless lives and to let the lizardmen take over. Fair enough. This can be remedied by referring all questions of science to our supreme science czar, Dr. David Icke. Congratulations, Sir David. You got yourself a bit of a raise there, I think. Nice. Okay. Education first. What's this about? We will get London back to school to ensure a bright future for our young kids. We will remove the culture of textbooks, and instead every student gets an hour of Joe Rogan listening every day, followed by an hour and 1 minute of London Real listening. Guys, this is his policies. I mean, I'm just reading off of his website, right? I'm reading off of his website, to be clear. We will create a marketplace of ideas where censorship is no longer permitted on our digital freedom platforms, so long as I'm the one uploading the content and or the person talking has donated. Okay. Yeah, that I think is maybe the worst part, is everything will be siphoned through the London Real Freedom Platform.tv webpage. So I hope you guys are used to going to that page and putting in your email. Obviously, you have to do that. So the question remains, I mean, look, I know you're sitting there looking at the color of your own piss, wondering when it's going to come to blows or swallows. But don't worry, guys, because I also did some digging not only into his policies, but also what's his likelihood of getting elected? Is it true that he's number 2 in the polls, right? Or in the betting? The bookies, boys, the bookies. Well, I got some bad news there. Honestly, bad news. Yes, it's true. He is number 2 in the polls. What's going on? Is it true that he's really got a 20% chance of winning? It's complicated. Mystery. Because when you actually look up the real polls, not just a sports bookie website, you find this. This is the best poll I could find. Sadiq Khan, of course, is way ahead. And then there's a bunch of people. And then all the way back, I can't even get it on screen right now, is other. And Brian is one of the others. They actually just have this basket of others where all the mayor candidates, because it's just so easy to run for mayor, can go. And that's where Brian is. So what's going on? Is Brian in last place? Is he in second place? It's a bit of a mystery. So I looked into how bookies' odds are made. And basically, this is actually what's going on. So in bookie odds making, you obviously want to account for what is the actual likelihood of something happening. But there's this other factor, which is that when somebody places a big bet on something, the odds change because the bookie doesn't want to be exposed to like a huge risk. It's like, let's say someone puts like $1 million on the underdog. Well, now that underdog, even though they're not likely to win, the bookie, on that weird chance that they do win, they basically don't want to be bankrupt. So they change the odds to fit themselves better. So let me give you guys a hypothetical to explain this little bookie making. Let's just say a grifter looking for attention wants to make waves, and he has a bunch of cash from free donations to his campaign. Let's say instead of actually using that money for good causes, he places a bet on himself. Theoretically, the odds would change, and he could tell his followers he's in second place while actually not needing to get any votes at all. He could completely bomb in the election and then just say it was the lizard people. So I know that's a little bit, hey, let's go to the conspiracy board, guys, because I know that's a little bit crazy, right? A little bit Pepe Sylvia. Ooh, I know that's wild, but I'm going to just go out on a limb here and say that that's what's happening. So fear not, guys. Sleep well at night knowing that Brian Rose isn't in second place. In fact, it seems like he's in last place. So the mystery is solved, guys. The mystery of Brian Rose running for mayor. I hope you feel like you've been kept up to date with what's going on, because I know we haven't talked about him, and you might see his videos saying that he's in first place, whatever. No. Somebody just placed a big bet on him. We don't know who, and his odds changed because of it. But literally, the polls are clear. No one knows who this guy is, of course. Look, the challenge is that when you're running for mayor, you have to get actual people in London to vote for you, not like the 5 David Icke followers who still haven't realized that he used David Icke like strictly for clout. Those guys, like, yeah, they're a fan of Brian Rose, but those guys don't usually live in London. The concentration is all over the world. He needs to convince people specifically within the city, and it's not going to happen. All right, so that concludes Trending Tuesday. Let me know what you guys want to see next. I know you guys are very invested. Sorry to clickbait you with the dream drama, guys. I honestly just can't be bothered to talk about it today. But let me know what you're interested in seeing, and I'll make sure to deliver for you guys. Up tomorrow, we got Webinar Wednesdays. Be sure to check it out, where we get scammed so you don't have to. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Hello and welcome to the shareholders meeting. It's been a while since I unveiled to you the Death Touch, but I've been hearing rumors for a while now that there may be a new martial arts master among us. And it might be time for me to concede the self-appointed title of most dangerous man alive. Let's find out who this new man is. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Coffeezilla studio. I'm your host, $10 million. And according to my notes, by new martial arts master, I mean old. And by martial arts master, I mean this.
He's all fired up now, King. He's wrestling the match his way.
I'm talking about Steven Seagal, okay? My boy is making a comeback in 2021 like Mom Jeans did. Where they're just around long enough to remind us why they belong in the past. But you guys won't stop sending me links about this man. This ultimate weapon of a man. And I had to ask myself, is this man still dangerous.
You still fine?
Yes, I do.
You still dangerous?
I guess that's our answer. But he's not dangerous for the reasons you think. I mean, yes, karate, taekwondo, aikido are all dangerous words that Steven Seagal technically knows how to say out loud. But he's no longer the ass-kicking guy he once was. No, Steven Seagal is apparently dangerous for another reason. This crypto scam bilked investors out of $11 million and paid action star Steven Seagal to promote it. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Steven Seagal scammed people with crypto. Nothing like taking financial advice from a guy best known for faking fights, I guess. I mean, honestly, if you lost money on this...
Stop it. Get some help.
What was the synapse connection between Steven Seagal and trusted financial advisor? I mean, ladies and gentlemen, I'm trying to help you, but at some point, if you're going to trust Steven Seagal, you're going to be taken in by every scam you encounter, and I can't work that hard. I'm already low on sleep. I can't bust enough scams to help you if you trust Steven Seagal. By the way, this coin that he promoted, get this, it was called Bitcoin. No, I didn't just have a aneurysm mid-sentence. And maybe I buried the lead on this because I'm now thinking that this is maybe the funniest part of this whole thing, is that the scam, yes, ladies and gentlemen, was called Bitcoin. I mean, guys, that's so bad. It's just taking a successful thing and adding a vowel. It's like Pokemon, and you just go Pokemon, and you start your own scam. And you get Steven Seagal to promote it. I mean, look, it's obviously, a complete cash grab by these people. Here's the tweet, by the way, from Team Seagal. Steven Seagal has become the worldwide ambassador for Bitcoin, the second generation cryptocurrency. So obviously it's a scam, but the details, ladies and gentlemen, are just as juicy. So Steven Seagal posts this thing on Twitter, but fails to disclose that he got paid $250,000 to promote it. He then gets fined $300,000 for not disclosing that, and then said he had already cut off the arrangement because, quote, he began having doubts about the bona fides of the company. Dude, I would love to see Steven Seagal testing the bona fides of a cryptocurrency. Do you think he pulled out his protractor or his a TI-86 and a pin maybe? Or did he just kick his computer over? Did he karate chop it over? Now, the amazing part about this, the other amazing part, that's all amazing, about this scam was the front man, John DeMar. John DeMar, according to MarketWatch, was a 55-year-old private investigator who was the front man for the scam. And he ran the scam. He used the funds to apparently buy a Porsche and make millions of dollars. But check out what happened when he got caught. Bombarded by complaints from investors, DeMar falsely announced that the company had been acquired by Russian venture funds, prosecutors said. He then told investors to redeem their Bitcoin second-generation coins to him, and that he would travel to Montenegro to sell them to the new owners, and that everyone would get their money back. Soon after, the company issued a stunning announcement that DeMar had been assaulted in Montenegro and had disappeared, and that investors should stop trying to contact him. Guys, don't contact him. He's been assaulted and abducted in Montenegro, according to court documents. In reality, DeMar was holed up in his house in Orange County, California. Don't call it the Cuban Missile Crisis. Even that didn't end as badly as this one did. Mark Cuban recently promoted a crypto that has now blown up in his face, thanks to some degenerate crypto farming. The coin is called Titan. It went from $4 to $60 inside of a week, and then immediately crashed to less than a penny in a few hours. Mark Cuban, in response, tweeted this: "I got hit like everyone else. Crazy part is I got out, thought they were increasing their TVL enough. Then, bam, more like boom." Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to DeFi. Now, in the aftermath, people lost millions, maybe more. Memes are being made to memorialize the event. And Mark Cuban is curiously suddenly calling for a stablecoin regulation. He says in a statement to Bloomberg, there should be regulation to define what a stablecoin is and what collateralization is acceptable. You know, I obviously agree with this idea of stablecoin regulation, but I gotta admit, losing all your money and then calling for regulation, it's a bit like trying to ban gambling right after you got cleaned out in Vegas. I mean, you might be right. Bad timing. That's all I'm gonna say. But honestly, I think this is a good time to talk to all you degenerates out there, okay? Trying to yield farm your way to the moon. Now look, we've all been there. You got that stimmy check, and you're looking at index fund returns. The S&P might get you 8 to 12% a year if you're lucky. Cash is trash. You can't keep it in fiat. So then you look at crypto. Boom. 100% gains, baby. Over here, 12,000% gains. Guys, crypto is a whole new level of risk reward that the world is really still getting exposed to and used to. It's just gains are ratcheted up, and so are losses, though, to be honest. People don't even open up Binance or KuCoin for anything less than 200% APY, and it's got y'all all kinds of messed up, okay? Even people like Mark Cuban. Like, here's a guy who goes up on Shark Tank, and he's buttoned up, right? He's asking questions you'd expect from a millionaire. You know, what's your cash flow? Who are your competitors? What's your projected growth? You know, in other words, he's a rational businessman. He's been around the block. But apparently, when Mark goes home, gets in front of that MacBook, starts checking out these DeFi projects, this man becomes a filthy degenerate. These were the kinds of yields Mark was looking at. Here's a liquidity pool promising 347% APY. Here's another one promising 133,000% APY. And here's another one offering, just a low 4 billion percent APY if you put money with them. Now, if you're thinking, there's no way Mark Cuban would be, taken in by such ridiculous returns, right? Clearly, these are scams. Well, you'd actually be right. He didn't go in for the 4 billion percent or even the 300%. Instead, according to the blog where he shilled this coin called Titan, he said he got an annualized return of about 206%, guys. Don't worry, we're not talking about anything crazy here. Just 206% on his money per year. Now, this is completely nuts. So today, we're going to break down what went wrong with the crypto Mark promoted in this blog post that he posted only a few days ago. It's called The Brilliance of Yield Farming, Liquidity Providing, and Valuing Crypto Projects, June 13th. In this post, he describes the degenerate behavior, but the token we're going to talk specifically about where he lost the money is called Titan. But it's actually part of a 2-token system that makes up an algorithmic stablecoin called Iron. The 2 tokens are Iron and Titan. They both collapsed. Now, you should already be familiar with the concept of stablecoins from our Tether video. Remember that collateral is the thing backing the token. So, let's say I give you a token that's supposed to be worth $1. My collateral could be like $1 that I hold in reserve, right? Instead of that, Titan admits that it's only partially collateralized and uses algorithmic minting and burning protocols to maintain a soft peg to the dollar. Now, if you're already bored to tears like I am, I'm just going to put this on screen for you to read from them. This is how the Iron Titan token works. Now, while you read this and try to parse out what this says, let me just tell you the obvious. Even the basics of this are very complex, which is something I should have addressed a long time ago, but I might as well address now. I'm going to say this once. Extreme complexity in finance is bad, okay? As an investor, really as anyone, you should avoid them. Why? Because the less you understand something, ladies and gentlemen, the more you can misunderstand the risks, okay? Like, imagine investing is like whitewater rafting. It's a rewarding, dangerous activity with twists and turns. But if you know where the rocks are, you can be safe. You can avoid some of the pitfalls. It's always going to have a level of danger, but if you know what's going on in the river, you're going to be fine. But imagine you go in completely blind. You don't know where anything is. You don't know the river layout. You're going to wash up on the rocks, bleeding, wondering what happened. This is the case with investing. If you do not understand something in investing, you're going to smash into those rocks and it's going to be a problem. This is why Warren Buffett frequently says that he doesn't invest in a lot of companies. It's not because he thinks they're bad. It's because he doesn't fully understand them, according to him. By the way, not only is it true that complicated financial schemes can hide fraud, it's also true that just because you didn't fully understand it, things can get out of balance. This is actually what happened in the 2008 financial crash. Subprime lending led to MBSs and then CDOs, which all confused and obfuscated the fact that the system was broken and people were still continuing to lend loans they should have never lent. Had things been more clear, this might not have been a problem. And so the same thing applies to crypto. If you don't understand these tokens, please do not invest in them. So where does that leave us with the Iron Titan token? The token actually was only the beginning of the problem. Mark Cuban was also engaging in something called yield farming through something called QuickSwap. It's just like more degenerate, okay? According to a blog where he promoted Titan a few days before the collapse, he said, quote, "I'm a small LP for QuickSwap. I provide two different tokens, DAI and Titan, that enable QuickSwap to offer swaps between these two tokens." So now, not only are you dealing with sort of a shaky algo stablecoin, add a little bit of DeFi yield farming to the mix, and ladies and gentlemen, we have a recipe for disaster. Even Mark Cuban admits he didn't do his due diligence on this before writing his blog post about it. He says, "Even though I got rugged on this, it's really on me for being lazy. The thing about DeFi is that it's all about revenue and math, and I was too lazy to do the math to determine what the key metrics were." Which all leads us to June 16th, only days after Mark Cuban writes this about Titan and drew tons of new investors to the project. And literally one day after Iron.Finance, the people who create these little coins, itself had claimed that Titan was a bear-proof asset. Oh, the sweet irony of saying we're unstoppable. It's like being on the Titanic.
But this ship can't sink.
So anyways, on June 16th, not to rub it in, the unthinkable happened. A few people start selling Titan, and it led to everyone trying to run for the door at the same time. When that happened, Titan collapsed to zero, along with Iron as well. People really hadn't considered that maybe what made Titan make so much money on the way up would also make it crash just as hard, as a post on Reddit would explain best. This is how the protocol was designed. Positive feedback loop on the way up, negative feedback loop on the way down. Boring technical jargon in the middle, and then it says, this creates both massive deflation and massive inflation, depending on which way the supply-demand is going. It seems that this bear-proof asset hadn't considered the idea that maybe their math wasn't as solid as they thought. Well, millions of people lost all of their investment, or most of it. Ironically, Mark may have actually been one of the few people, who saved some of his money from disaster, because in his response, he had said, "I got hit like everybody else. Crazy part is I got out. Thought they were increasing their TVL enough." Here, I think he's referring to the fact that he got out of the DeFi yield farming, but was still holding some of the Titan, which went to zero. Some clearly didn't get out at all, such as this post from Reddit. He says, "What the hell happened? I put $23,000 today on Matic Titan LP token for 1 billion% APR this morning, and this was so trash. I went down from 23K to 67 cents. How does your coin drop from $60 down to zero? You better fix this soon." Yeah, this really happened to this person. I don't know how you help them. I don't know how you explain to people that 1 billion% APR is automatically going to be a scam. I think it can be answered using a comment I got on Twitter. This is in response to everything collapsing. It says, "Well, even Mark Cuban got rugged. Pretty normal in DeFi. It's risky, but you can make insane money with Ponzi's." Now, I don't know exactly when we all stopped thinking Ponzi schemes were bad, but I feel like there's this new logic that maybe I should give an obligatory bad idea to, which is that people think, if only I get in on the ground floor. Oh, it's a Ponzi, sure, but if I just get in on the ground floor, it'll be fine.
If it is a Ponzi, get in on the ground floor. To the moon.
Like, this is obviously pure nonsense. And for the health of your bank account, stay away from anybody who tells you this. Meanwhile, the lovely team over at Iron Finance, the people behind this whole thing, they're ready to push another one of their stable coins. They say in response to this giant collapse, quote, "We have learned a great deal from the incident, and while there was nothing that could be fixed in the current system, we will continue our journey with more products in the future." These guys don't even say sorry. You can control F sorry in their post-mortem. They don't care. They don't care about wrecking you guys. They go, "Hey, we're going to start a new one like tomorrow." Total clowns. And I would say no one's going to trust these people again, but honestly, crypto is the perfect place for criminals to launch new careers. Off topic, guys, anyone hear about that new Brian Rose DeFi? Anyways, that's kind of besides the point. I just hope this serves as a cautionary tale. Listen, Titan was $1 billion token. That's $1 billion of value that was just blinked out of existence. And, for those of you who are looking for those mouth-watering yields, it's a good lesson that always the old saying turns out to be true in the long run. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Oh yeah, and also remember, it might be fun to play high-stakes poker, at the big boy table, but if you don't got it like that, don't bother, right? When Mark Cuban loses his investment, in Titan, it doesn't matter. Not to judge, most of y'all don't have flying Lamborghinis in my audience. You got to play a different hand. When you get wiped out, it's a much bigger deal. So unless you have a flying Lambo, I banish you from investing in things you don't understand. Please, guys, be safe out there. Keep your money safe. That's all I'm going to say. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. There's a new breed of fake guru out there, and they're clever. They're smart. They know that you guys know that the people written the Lambos and all that kind of stuff, they're scams. So what do? Well, now they appeal to that by calling them out. They go, oh yeah, I'm here to call out the fake gurus, right? You saw this with KT9 early on.
Everyone is sitting in front of Lamborghinis and Ferraris and trying to get you to attend a free Amazon training, so we came to an alley.
Then we saw it with John Crestani.
There are more scams out there on the internet than there are legitimate opportunities by far.
But now we're faced with a new opponent. This is Kevin Zhang. He wants to put the fake gurus out of business.
For all of you gurus and self-proclaimed experts out there, you better watch out, because I'm about to give away more value in this free channel than all of your scammy courses combined. It's time to take that rented Lambo back to the lot.
Wow, look at Kevin really dunk on these gurus. He really doesn't like these fake gurus, huh? He's tired of their Lamborghinis.
In these next 2 days, I want you to really reflect on the goals that you have for your life and just...
Oh, wait, did you just notice that though? He talks about reflect on what you really want, and then he puts a Lamborghini and a mansion. So I want to answer a question today. Who is Kevin Zhang and what does he teach? On one of his funnels, where he's going to end up trying to sell you a $2,000 course, he says other gurus teach you how to build stores like these, and then it says scam, scam, scam. Don't build brands that scam. I'll show you why the websites above don't build customer trust and loyalty. Build brands that crush. The trust building websites below are what you'll create step by step with me. Okay, so he's tired of the scams. He's tired of the fake gurus. He's sick of it, guys. He's sick of it. He won't have it. That's why you need to go to him instead of the other gurus. Guru Kevin over the fake gurus, right? That's what he's trying to tell you. But what has Kevin Zhang actually done? Well, according to his Instagram, he's gone from $0 to $20 million in 1 year. But what shops did he build? What brands did he build? He wouldn't build a brand that scams. No. He would never do that. Well, we look at his hype video.
So I decided to share my secrets.
There's a little slip up at 59 where he shows us a web page, but we can actually zoom in. Computer, enhance. NewportApparel.myshopify.com. That's one of his pages. Okay, well, who's that? Newport Apparel. Let's look at these people. Well, they're out of business and they have a customer complaint. Oh, this business has a pattern of complaints regarding refund and exchange issues? No, not Kevin. No, don't build brands that scam. But there's some related businesses. Who's this? Dixon Leather. Who's Dixon Leather? Well, look at this. A pattern of complaints regarding customer service issues. And there's several other web pages that are affiliated with this. They're all under the same address. That's why they're affiliated. They're all under 41 Logistics Boulevard, Walton, Kentucky. This one has a Better Business Bureau rating of F. This couldn't be related to Kevin Zhang, but oh my gosh, it is, because it's the same address as Newport Apparel, which Kevin Zhang is advertising in his own hype video. Huh, interesting. But there's another point of connection. On one of Kevin Zhang's Facebook pages, it says he owns Dixon Trading Company, LLC. Now, Dixon Trading Company, LLC, Dixon Leather, are they necessarily connected? No. Until we go to Dixon Leather's webpage, which, by the way, is now deleted. All these websites are now closed. But if we go look at a screenshot that someone grabbed, it says, this site is owned and operated by Dixon Trading Company, LLC. Huh, isn't that the page that Kevin Zhang owns? Yes, it is. This website is operated by Dixon Leather. So it's owned and operated by Dixon Trading Company, operated by Dixon Leather. Interesting, okay. My gosh, the walls are closing in on old Kevin Zhang here. What's going on? Tell me the truth.
For all of you gurus and self-proclaimed experts out there, you better watch out.
What's going on here? Well, Dixon Leather, if you guys don't know, was selling these leather jackets, right? Or leather belts, leather gloves, and their whole website was all about real leather, not bullshit, right? Because Kevin Zhang, you know, right? This is right up Kevin Zhang's alley, you know, saying that he's not going to give you the fake stuff, he's going to give you the real stuff, right?
For all of you gurus and self-proclaimed experts out there, you better watch out.
And all his advertising says these are leather jackets. But when you go and you look at the complaints, they're not leather. They're polyurethane, which is basically plastic. And it turns out the Better Business Bureau, yeah, they contacted him in July 2019 and told him to not call his stuff leather. But they never changed it. And although that website has now gone out of business, there's a new website that looks very similar. It's called longhornleather.shop. It's up right now. And what's the front page say? Leather, not bullshit. Oh yeah, Kevin. Kevin, don't build brands that scam. I'm not going to teach you how to build brands that scam, right? And what is it? Oh, it's the exact same thing as Dixon Leather. So in conclusion, guys, this guy who's saying, oh yeah, I'm putting the fake gurus out of business. I'm not going to teach you how to run scam stores, right? I'm not going to teach you how to run scam stores. This is Mr. Dixon Leather. This is Mr. Newport Apparel. This is Mr. Tactical Grizzly. All of them. Terrible reviews on the Better Business Bureau. They're being investigated. They're shut down. This is who you're buying a course from, dude. These guys are ridiculous, man. Giving people polyurethane jackets under the guise of it being leather. It's absolute garbage. But you know what? If you decide to go and buy Kevin Zhang's course, because of course he is selling a course, $2,000, you can look forward to this.
A warning tonight, a variety of online retailers are using fake Illinois addresses. Consumers say these shops do not deliver merchandise, sends products made from poor quality material, or it even doesn't look like what's advertised. The Better Business Bureau had complaints about several websites.
Computer, enhance.
Unfortunately, the world of e-commerce education is full of scammers, pretenders, and outright liars. I'm sure you've seen their ads all over the place, and I bet...
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a pilot of a brand new show I'm launching. Before I tell you the title of it, let me tell you, great ideas don't come from the vacuum, from the void. It's a great myth, you know. Artists like myself... That sounds so pretentious. Artists. We steal. Great artists steal, guys. But unlike what Kevin David thinks, you don't steal from one thing. You take from a variety of sources. So let me explain my inspiration for the show before we get into the first episode. Inspiration number one, sociopaths.
Sitting out there waiting to give you their money. Are you going to take it?
Are you man?
Are you man enough to take it?
That's one of my favorite scenes of all time. Second, comedians in cars getting coffee.
I'm Jerry Seinfeld,
I'll explain.
And this is Comedians in Cars
Getting coffee, right? It's catchy. You got to admit, for such a long title, it's pretty catchy. So I thought, I was cooking up in the brain. You know, I was looking around like, is anyone going to see, anyone stolen this idea already? Look, new show instituted right now, sociopaths on stage selling Ponzi's. Kind of got a ring to it, don't you think? And look, guys, yeah, maybe it's a pilot. Maybe we kick it off as a series. Maybe Netflix buys it. I don't know. Pump the stock. That's all. Look, are we worried about fundamentals here, or are we pumping the stock? What are we doing here? Now, this is our boy today. This is sociopath number one. Now, guys, you know, guys, I'm not a clinical psychologist, sociologist. I'm not a doctor. I don't play one on the internet. I do jokingly give my opinion on people, okay? You're about to get sold on a pretty amazing idea. Imagine. Let me paint the picture for you. Free money. Easy money. Guaranteed money. Can't lose, can't miss money. All with the power of imagination. Actually, sorry. The internet. The internet. With the power of the internet, Kin and his wife, Carrie Courtright, want to buy you or build you a profit-generating website that can make you up to 20% of your money every year like clockwork.
I've done guarantees in a contract which goes in perpetuity from as low as 11%. I've even done one as high as I think 23, 24%.
Oh, wow. And that's not if it's successful. That's guaranteed. And in fact, they said that if they don't meet their side of the bargain, they will literally remake the store for you.
So when crap happens, we enact what's called the Act of God clause, which is in the contract of our arrangement. And it simply says, it does not matter the reason that this site is failing, it is failing. So we're just going to set it aside and build or buy a new one. And so in 18 times, we have put up brand new sites at our dime, and away they go. We do a minimum monthly guarantee of X amount so that it's comfortable for them to deal in a territory typically unknown, which is websites making money.
Personal minimum guarantees. Yikes. Guys, nothing in life is for sure except for death and taxes. Well, actually, taxes, some people have figured out a way out of that, like Logan Paul going to Puerto Rico. But anyways, if you sign up now, Ken and Carrie Courtright will not only give you a guaranteed return, they'll actually raise it by a few percent if you sign up right now.
You'll work with Bill. He'll add 1 to 2% onto the guaranteed minimum return that you receive each month. It's pretty cool.
Pretty cool, guys. Guaranteed, no risk.
Which is pretty cool. Monthly revenue commitments go with all sites. They might be as low as 7%. They might be high as, in some cases, depending on the platform and what we're building, you might get into the mid, sometimes even the upper teens.
Yeah, guys, that means you put in 100K. Let me translate this. They will give you up to 7 to 20% return. Are you hearing this? There is no such thing as a free lunch. But as you know, in life, if you promise things, people will believe you. And as such, Ken and Carrie Courtright have managed to persuade about $75 million away from investors. They say they're so professional. Don't they look trustworthy, guys? They just look like a couple of class acts. They wouldn't lie to you. He looks like a little Boy Scout leader or something like that. He looks like he could be your state senator. What, are you not going to trust this guy? Well, as you've already seen, this pitch is pretty slick. But sociopaths or people doing bad things, they have cracks appear in their speech. See if you can spot them.
In order to eventually retire, you need to have a pile of money.
You see that? Ken, he's a bit obsessed with how he looks on stage, and he really doesn't like his wife, who seems to not be as good on stage as Ken. And so during this speech, he's constantly monitoring her, controlling her, and it's kind of weird.
Everybody knows, in order to.
So, of course, he does it once.
All right. So?
This is actually one of my favorite because, well, it's my opportunity to brag a little bit.
A little higher.
Okay, my opportunity to brag.
And then again, and then again.
Nuts when your friend, coworker, or neighbor who's not, I understand, who's not half as sure.
Honey, you've got to make sure the mic is close to your mouth while we pitch this Ponzi scheme. Listen, when you say guaranteed returns, you got to put the mic close to your mouth. She's like, I understand, you psychopath. You put me up to that. All good things must come to an end. And the SEC brought the hammer down. These two have been accused of operating a Ponzi-like scheme under the name of the Income Store in exchange for an investor's upfront fee. They claimed they'd be able to build this website, and of course they were not. In fact, they were funding their lifestyle with the returns from investors and with the money from investors. According to some estimates, over half of the money will never be returned to the investors, which is extremely sad because it was over $75 million. At the same time, guys, let this be a lesson to everyone. These psychopaths will always be out here dressed in new clothes, right? Have you ever heard the expression wolf in sheep's clothing? That's the feeling I get. My skin crawls. It's like they portray this image of, oh, we're just family-loving people, right? In reality, they're greedy. They stole old people's money. I mean, they stole everybody's money. And it's absolutely disgusting the way they stand up there portraying themselves to be the good guys. They're the heroes, right? They want to help you. I mean, I really want you guys to pay attention to how these two talk. They talk like they've descended out of heaven above to help you out. It's unbelievable.
So, guys, with that, can you just give the listeners a little bit more about your background and what got you to where you are today?
Yeah, so we actually started about 30 years ago. Came out of college. We met in college. And we just had a crazy idea that we could walk into business owners and tell them that we could grow their business and they should pay us. That didn't go too well the first year, but over time, through a few testimonials, we did talk a few people into letting us attempt to grow their business, and turned out we were successful. So, but in 2009, something happened, and that was where we came face to face with the fact that the internet is real. It's not a fad, it's here to stay. And we think it should be the centerpiece of growth for most companies moving forward. So we changed our growth consulting model and made a statement that we will only grow a business or a household by adding a money-making website to them. So it allowed for a second, third, fourth, some even have a seventh, eighth, ninth revenue stream on top of their main revenue stream. And so we either build them or buy them a website that makes money, and then our 200 employees manage it for them for a share of the revenues.
Incredible. Because in actuality, none of that was happening. I mean, I know for a fact that they did try to buy some websites, and they were not successful. They were not making the returns they said they were making. And they instead were living out this nice life of sending their kids to private schools, buying expensive houses, all so they could just tell everybody, we're living the life. We can help you too. And it was all a complete lie. So what can we learn from all this? Well, true passive income, which is the holy grail of what most people think they need, is actually very hard to come by, and you should be immediately suspicious of anyone who promises you any kind of guaranteed returns in perpetuity. It doesn't exist, folks. It's like the perpetual energy machine. It's been promised year after year after year, decade after decade, as long as mankind has been around, and it's always been a farce.
I've done guarantees in a contract which goes in perpetuity from as low as 11%. I've even done one as high as, I think, 23, 24%.
Oh, wow. Listen to that. That is the most psychopathic thing you could say. Either that guy is the dumbest person on the planet, or he is negligent to a level that is unbelievable. And he does face these charges from the SEC at this point, and it looks like he will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, and I think he deserves it. But remember, when you look at these guys on stage, they don't look like con men, unless you think this type of couple looks like con men. Maybe they do to you, but to most people, they look like your typical middle of the income road Joes that just want to help you out. They're well-dressed professionals who are stealing your money right under your nose. So I'm glad it looks like the income store is shut down for good, and I can only hope that people stop.
Brainwash yourself into thinking successful thoughts. Like, I mean, bro, imagine you're brainwashed by, like, Bill Gates, you know? It's thinking more long-term.
Thinking more long-term!
Sup, welcome to the $10 million studio. I am your host, the Internet Detective. Welcome. How you doing? Got the Lambo in the back. Guys, I'm out of uniform. No goofy white shirt suspenders today. Okay, because I'll do what I want. Rebel. Today, we're talking about the daily routine of a 19-year-old, 7-figure entrepreneur. That's right, you heard me right. The kids are getting younger, they're getting richer. Honestly, back in my day, you know, it took us years to get to 7 figures. Nowadays, they're popping out of the womb, writing checks, making bets. That's all I'm going to say. Now, I'm going to say this right up front. Don't go harass this guy. I don't condone harassment generally, but the guy's 19. He's clearly making a mistake, and we're going to talk about it, but I want to be clear that this is made with love. Love for all. We're not going to be mean. We're just going to talk about the ridiculous expectations being set for young people today. They don't think they have to go to college. They think 9-to-5s are a scam. They think drop shipping's the only way. I don't know. It's a goofy little world, but my point is, be nice to him. So that's, with that preface out of the way, let's go ahead with it in mind that I'm going to be very nice to this guy.
You hear that, guys? Sounds like drop shipping to me. Just
okay. Tested me already, Mikey. I'm trying to be nice to you right now. You can't. He's riding in a Lambo. What does that sound like? Sounds like drop shipping to me.
You hear that, guys? Sounds like drop shipping to me.
Yeah, it's going to be a cringy video. I'm just going to tell you guys that right up front. Okay? So
the very first thing I do, you know, besides drink a rain, you know, not sponsored, but...
No, I can't address that. I'm losing brain cells.
I actually go for walks every single morning because I figured when I go for walks, I know it sounds like freaking nerdy and stuff, like what am I, like a 60-year-old grandpa or something, but in all seriousness, like walking, and then, you know, when you're...
What? It doesn't sound nerdy at all. It's just like what humans do. They've been walking forever. Babies. What am I, a freaking baby? Like walking? Like, what are you talking about?
You're tweaking off of like 300 milligrams of caffeine, like you just get genius thoughts and like literally like 7-figure ideas. So...
Did I make fun of this guy? I apologize. I didn't realize he was tweaking off 300 milligrams of caffeine. You know, Warren Buffett, Elon Musk, that's their secret.
All right, guys, literally, as you can see, I have my freaking initials in here, but yeah, I literally, you know, freaking run the hills, gang.
I'm upset by this.
But yeah, I did that a couple months ago, so, you know, that just shows that I've been walking like a motherfucker. I'm like Usain Bolt, except I'm the walker.
No. If he pitched this with a little sense of irony, he'd be a comedian.
See, we have this preconceived idea that I was taught, that you were taught in school by teachers on, you know, how to get rich, how to become successful is by going to college. But in reality, my parents, my friends' parents, even some of my friends are like, oh, Shopify, making money online and shit, having your online store is a scam.
Okay, so this is the most pernicious myth that I see. It's like, yeah, college, scam. Everything else, not a scam, right? It's a very common idea. Now, listen, nobody's calling dropshipping or Shopify by itself a scam. People are saying what is being pitched is the scam. You're saying you're going to make $1 million in 6 months, $1 million in 2 years, 3 years, whatever. The truth about entrepreneurship is like acting. Is acting, going to LA to be an actor, a scam? Well, no, technically not. But if you started a course where you're like, anybody can be an actor, just join my course of how to be like Brad Pitt or whatever, that's a scam, right? Because that's obviously not true. Obviously, acting is this huge risk. You got to be a combination of lucky, skilled, you got to be smart, you got to persevere. Like, it's true of any kind of, you know, start on your own stuff. This is why I don't recommend people go become YouTubers, because most people don't make it. It's just the honest truth. Is it possible to make a living? Yes. With dropshipping, with any kind of YouTube stuff, all these kind of things. But is this the right career path for many people? No. I don't know.
See, because we're taught this preconceived idea, we're sold this fake dream that you need to be 50 years old, you need to go to college. And I fucking dropped out of high school, bro. At 17 years old, I was fucking wearing hoodies, I was going to the skate park, but I was still making, you know, fucking 6-figure a month income.
This guy makes it really hard to be nice to. No, you weren't. And stop glorifying dropping out of high school.
Well, I'm not saying drop out or anything, but like if you truly brainwash yourself, and I'm not saying brainwash in a bad way, but like brainwash yourself into thinking successful thoughts. Like, I mean, bro, imagine you're brainwashed by like Bill Gates, you know, it's not being necessarily brainwashed for the worse. Also, being part of a stoic, ideally, you know, stoic is basically anyone who forgoes present pleasure for future gain.
You weren't even patient enough to drop out of high school, and you fancy yourself a stoic? Oh.
Thinking more long-term rather than...
Thinking more long-term! Guys, drop out of high school, drop out of college. Hey, we don't need college. Scam. College, scam. You know what? But I'm a stoic. Listen, guys, this whole idea, this whole myth, I'm not going to say it never happens because obviously there's precocious people, right? But there's a huge myth out there that it's realistic and achievable to hit success in your 20s, right? Even in your 20s. There's this huge push, like from people like Tim Ferriss, people like Dan Locke. They're like, hey, yeah, it's normal to expect that I'm going to be a millionaire by the time, you know, I'm 19 years old, right? It's ridiculous, and it makes people feel bad about themselves, but not only that, it makes them buy into dumb courses and actually drop out of things that could actually improve their education, like, you know, high school.
A couple years ago, I was literally getting all Fs in school, and I just told everyone I was going to become a dropshipper and move to LA.
If you're a parent, I'm sure you love to hear that. Hey, mom, dad, report cards all Fs again, but it's okay. I'm going to go sell a course now.
So I just thought with this YouTube channel, with the $17 course, bro, like, how can I change other people's life? Because obviously I have my own businesses and stuff like that, but as a stoic does...
You know, as a stoic does...
He works his life for the better of other people, not just himself. I could benefit myself, but true stoics, just like I read in the book today, I mean, I've been living by this principle, but like, I'm trying to live together as a community, trying to better the community. You know what I'm saying?
No, we don't know what you're saying. The communities. Hey, the $17 course, whatever, ain't helping nobody. That's the sound of the cops. Hey, listen, I'm saying this right now. okay? Because you're like, $17 cars. It's not the end of the world, Steven. That's true. It's not the end of the world. He's a young man, young in his game. But let me say, I got DM'd by someone on Instagram who one of this guy's coaches reached out to and tried to upsell into $1,000 courses. So he's got the back end where he's trying to get people in on the expensive coaching to afford his life. But I want you guys to know, look, this isn't real. It's all fake. It's all WWE entertainment, ridiculous nonsense, okay? Honestly, people like this, they've learned that people older than them are just faking it till you make it. So they go, why can't I when they're 19? And you know what? To be honest, they have a point. This guy's about as qualified as a lot of the other gurus you see all the time, which is to say not qualified at all. So that's what I want to call out, guys. I think when you see a 19-year-old flexing, it's easier to see through the ridiculous, kind of transparently vapid philosophy of, oh, college education, a scam. But you know what's not a scam? Drop shipping. It's just not true, okay? Right? Listen, he's going to get his act together. He's young. He's learning the game. But if you're going to make a video like this, you're going to get, of course, called out. Do you guys remember the retirement video? This is the one where Max Trubisky fake retired and said, only 2 stores remaining. I want to give you a Finnish Shopify store for only $19.95. The idea was he broke his arms and he gave some sob story. I mean, this is basically that, but just a different guy. Just a copy of a copy of a copy, right? Look at this.
These 8 stores are exact duplicates of this one that's generated me around $7,000 yesterday.
How's that any different from Max Trubisky giving away a bunch of stores too for, money?
But not before I gave away 20 e-commerce brands to you guys, to whoever's watching this video, brands that we've already built and we were gonna use that are identical in theme, in products found, in logo, in color scheme.
Does that sound anything like this?
It has the same exact branding, the same color schemes, the same products. Everything is ready to go. We've done a lot.
Oh, so it's the same as the other guy, right? So what's your excuse for?
Sam Bankman-Fried is facing 115 years in prison for fraud, and I flew to New York City to watch it all happen live. We'll be breaking it all down here in the $40 million Bahama penthouse, what happened with FTX, who the big players are, and everything about this trial, start to finish. But first, let me be honest, this is not a quick story. I'm gonna simplify, but try not to oversimplify, which is difficult given that there are 1,000 pages of transcripts and government evidence. So to tackle this, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna give you the prosecution and defense's arguments in order as the jury would hear them, 2 competing visions for what happened with FTX. Then we'll give you the witness testimony that ultimately will decide the fate of one of the largest frauds we've ever seen. And you at home can decide what you believe. Is Sam innocent or guilty? Let's get started. All right, this is pretty boring. They just selected the jury. All right, this is where things get more interesting. We got opening statements today. The prosecution's arguments is basically that Sam Bankman-Fried created an elaborate fraud using 2 companies. FTX, where customers could go deposit their money, and Alameda Research, which then stole that money from FTX. Now, on the surface, Alameda was a trading firm and a market maker. Both FTX and Alameda were controlled by Sam, but it kind of looked like they were separate entities, like they were both successful but separate. Now, that wasn't true. The companies weren't separate, and Alameda Research got special privileges which they used to steal the customers' money. By the time anyone found out, it was already too late. According to the prosecution's lawyers, a year ago, the truth started to come out. Customers tried to get their money back, but that money, the customer's money, was gone. The defendant had taken it. Now, on the other side, you have the defense, who says, yeah, FTX collapsed, but Sam didn't intend to defraud anyone. Quote, Sam believed that loans that FTX made to Alameda were permitted and backed by reasonable security. But if that's true, why did things fail? Well, think of FTX like a plane. Sam and his colleagues were building the plane as they were flying it. I mean, it's so easy to blame people in hindsight, but is it that simple? Quote, to listen to the government's openings, there were no employees. It was Sam doing everything by himself. That wasn't true. No one person, no CEO, certainly not Sam, could be everywhere. And as a result, some things got overlooked. And the defense is right. 8 billion things did indeed go overlooked. But their point is this. If blame is to go anywhere, look at who was actually the CEO of Alameda Research at the time. It wasn't Sam. It was his ex-girlfriend, Caroline Ellison. And speaking of Caroline, she's going to be testifying later against Sam in this trial. So the defense is eager to discredit her and the other FTX executives who are also testifying against Sam. The defense says that all these people entered cooperation agreements, which incentivizes them to testify against Sam and make him sound as bad as possible to get their sentence lessened. Or, as they would put it, quote, are they spinning things that Sam said that were good faith business decisions and now claiming they were sinister and they knew it all along? That's the story of the prosecution and the defense. Elaborate fraud or well-meaning failure. Before you make up your mind, though, know that neither of these two have really presented much evidence. So to believe either of their stories, that's really what we're waiting for. And of course, that's going to come through witnesses. And speaking of witnesses, this is where things get pretty lopsided, to be honest. The prosecution has all the witnesses. They have pages of witnesses, while the defense basically has none, except for Sam himself, who probably shouldn't take the stand. So everyone you'll be hearing from today is testifying against Sam. And with that in mind, let's kick off with our first witness. It's a customer of FTX, Mark Anthony Juilliard. Now, the first thing we find out is that Mark had $100,000 on FTX right before everything collapsed. And he saw Sam Bankman-Fried tweet this: FTX is fine. Assets are fine. FTX has enough to cover all client holdings. We don't invest client assets, even in treasuries. And Mark, seeing this and trusting Sam, didn't withdraw his money in early November, only to realize later he couldn't withdraw it and FTX declared bankruptcy. The point is, Mark was hurt because Sam Bankman-Fried lied about FTX being fine, or so the prosecution says. Now, the defense's turn came to cross-examine him, and they said, hey, you knew crypto was new and also a risky asset, didn't you? Yes. You could make a lot, you could also lose a lot. Yes. The defense asked Mark if he had read the terms of service. Mark said he did not. Which, I get what they're doing here, they're just kind of making him seem reckless, but I found it personally besides the point, which is that SBF lied about the health of his company. I found it unconvincing, but you guys know I'm a little biased here. Now, up next, the prosecution calls their next witness, Adam Yedidia, who is a long-term friend of Sam Bankman-Fried. Not only that, Adam worked at FTX, and he was asked to explain why he abruptly quit one day. He says, quote, I learned that Alameda Research had used customer deposits to pay back its loans to creditors, which might sound bad, but it's about to get a lot worse. All right, Adam Yedidia is still up, and he explains that early on, FTX had trouble opening its own bank account. So to get customer money in, quote, the deposits were received in a different bank account labeled the North Dimension bank account. Who controlled it? Alameda, according to Adam. Adam claims that if he knew Alameda was spending the money, it would have raised concerns for him. Why? Well, then the money wouldn't be there for the customer if the customer wanted it. And here's where we learned about an account called the fiat@ftx.com account. This was the internal account where FTX tracked how much Alameda owed them for their customer deposits. Why is this important? Well, Adam found out by looking at it one day that Alameda owed FTX $8 billion in 2022, which concerned him. Quote, I had a conversation with Sam. What was your reaction to this $8 billion liability that led to your conversation with Sam? It concerned me. Why did it concern you? It seemed like a lot of money for Alameda to be owing FTX, and I wanted to be certain that Alameda could repay that debt. Spoiler alert, it couldn't. Now, Sam allegedly responded at the time, we were bulletproof last year, being 2021, but we're not bulletproof this year. In cross-examination, the defense tried to ask Adam about Sam's car, which, if that feels unrelated to this point, it is. They say, quote, do you know what car he did drive? No. Did you recall seeing a Toyota Corolla? In terms of clothes, he didn't buy fancy clothes, right? I didn't see him wear fancy clothes. To be honest, I felt this was a big miss for the defense to tackle the actual issue. The prosecution is claiming Sam knew how bad things were and chose to lie about it. So that kind of went unanswered. And speaking of the prosecution, Matt Huang is up next. Now, Matt works for Paradigm, as we would learn, which invested almost $300 million in FTX. But before they did that, they were worried about Alameda getting special treatment on FTX, to which Matt emailed them, worrying about value leakage through Alameda. Matt claims, quote, I recall that we were told there was no preferential treatment for Alameda. This, we would soon find out, was a lie. when the next witness, Gary Wang, took the stand after another disappointing cross-examination by the defense. Now, who's Gary Wang? He's really important. He's the co-founder of both FTX and Alameda Research. He's super important because he was present for all the big moments. And he claims basically the opposite of Sam. Sam said there was no preferential treatment of Alameda. Gary says, we gave special privileges to Alameda Research on FTX, which allowed it to withdraw unlimited amounts of funds from the platform, and we lied about this to the public. Now remember, the jury just heard from our last witness that there was no special privileges. And then the co-founder's like, yeah, we did, and we lied about it. This entire section was pretty horrible for the defense. Gary's asked, question, did you commit financial crimes while working at FTX? Yes. Did you commit these crimes by yourself or with other people? With other people. Who are the main other people? Sam Bankman-Fried, Dashad Singh, and Caroline Ellison. Now, all those other people took cooperation agreements against Sam, so it's like all the people who are at this company are all pointing their finger at this one guy. But we're not even done yet. Today, the prosecution shows Gary Wang's code, which he wrote for FTX, which gave Alameda Research special privileges. In it, there's this special function they created called allow negative, which was switched on for Alameda Research and basically no one else. In the code, they show that if an account had that, they were allowed to have negative balances without anything happening. Now, this meant two things. One, if Alameda Research made a bad trade, nothing happened. And two, it allowed Alameda to basically have infinite withdrawals from FTX. Again, from the transcript, question, so did this special advantage allow Alameda to make unlimited withdrawals off the FTX exchange? Yes. If Alameda's account balance was 0 or negative and it used this special advantage to withdraw Bitcoin, whose Bitcoin would it be withdrawing? Answer, from customers. It would be withdrawing customers' Bitcoin. Now, that says it all. And the point of this testimony is not just to highlight that Alameda could and did steal money from customers. It was also showing that Sam was kind of willing to lie about that fact, because the prosecution then shows a tweet from 2019 when Sam is asked once again about conflicts of interest running FTX and a trading firm, Alameda, which runs their trades on FTX. Sam's response was that Alameda's account is just like everyone else's. And the beating didn't stop there. The prosecution then hammered Sam on this insurance fund thing they had. If you don't know what that is, basically, in the event that FTX took losses, they claimed that there was this insurance fund, which they bragged in a tweet was worth over $100 million. Gary Wang then explained that the purpose of this fund was this, quote, if an account does not get liquidated in time, that other customers of FTX won't be affected. Makes sense. An $100 million insurance fund does sound comforting, if it were true. Turns out, FTX lied. Question, was the number on this tweet accurate? Answer, no. Why not? For one, there's no FTT in the insurance fund. And two, the number does not match. What do you mean it does not match? The number in the databases was a different number. Question, is it a real number? Answer, no. So it's a fake number, yes. Was the real number higher or lower than the fake number? Lower. So they just faked the number to look better? But if you're wondering how, the prosecution pulls up the code and they ask Gary, hey, it looks like it takes the daily volume, multiplies it by a random number, and divides by 1 billion. Answer, yes. Does that number have anything to do with the actual number of the insurance fund? No. This was the exact moment, guys. I knew I had to go visit this trial in person. I knew things were bad with FTX. I didn't know they were make things up with random numbers levels of bad for our insurance fund. So based on this, I took the next flight out to New York City from the Bahamas, and I can't believe what I saw. Now, I'm gonna warn you guys right now, they didn't allow us to film in here, so all I got was really just a little bit of B-roll. But in terms of experiencing it, I really got a feeling for what it was like in the actual courtroom, seeing Caroline, seeing Sam, seeing Gary, which brings us to... So Gary Wang is still on the stand in cross-examination. At this point, I'm in the courtroom with my little notebook, and I followed the trial around enough to know that the defense really needs to land some jabs here, right? They've been taking a beating so far. So, I take my seat and I get ready for fireworks, right? This is their moment. And to their credit, the defense brings up something called NAV, net asset value. This is their silver bullet. Question, are you familiar with the term net asset value? Yes. That's sometimes called NAV? Yes. It just means that your assets minus your liabilities, right? Roughly speaking, yes. If you have a positive NAV, you have more assets than you have liabilities, right? Yes. The defense then goes on to get Gary to admit that technically in 2022, he calculated that Alameda's net asset value was positive. Gary says yes, and they push again. Isn't it true that Alameda's net asset value remained positive all the way up to November of 2022, which is when things collapsed? Answer, it depends a lot on how much value you assign to Alameda's investments, which is kind of true, but it's also like a lot of a dodge. Even from my very biased perspective, I was writing in here, I was just like, I don't know. The actual answer from Gary should have been here, yes, that's true. Alameda's balance sheets showed a positive net asset value as late as November, but the nuance of why is what really matters here. To understand it, we're going to have to explain liquid versus illiquid assets. So to do that, I've flown out everyone's favorite bartender, Maxwell, to talk about it. What are you doing? Where's the bar?
What bar? We're doing the thing, right? Margot Robot in a bubble bath?
Margot Robot in a... What are you talking about?
You know, The Big Short. Famous scene, great movie.
I know what The Big Short is. We're not doing The Big Short.
I think he's still taking the Michael Lewis thing pretty seriously.
I can't watch this. Just explain the thing.
Aye, boss. Alright, so basically Sam Bankman-Fried had found a way to borrow billions from his customers and billions from crypto lenders, but didn't have the money to pay everyone back. So he decides to bluff by loading Alameda's balance sheet with the liquid assets. The catch was, these looked valuable on paper, but were actually unsellable and super risky. Venture capital, Sam's crypto coins, inter-party loans, when you hear them talk about these liquid assets, think shit. Meanwhile, what Sam owed was all liquid, things with immediate value. And that's how FTX could go bankrupt even when their net asset value was positive. Their assets were shit, and the debts were legit. It's that simple. Got it? Good. Now f*** off.
All right, I hope that helped. I certainly will never forget what I just saw. But now, Caroline Ellison is going to take the stand and talk a great deal about these illiquid assets. Caroline Ellison, of course, being the girlfriend of Sam, ex-girlfriend, but more importantly, she was the CEO of Alameda Research when it and FTX collapsed. Immediately, she admits she is guilty of fraud, money laundering. And then she says that she committed these crimes with Sam Bankman-Fried. The reason she defrauded people is she, quote, incorrectly stated the amount of our assets and our liabilities and made Alameda's balance sheets look less risky than it really was. And this is where liquid versus illiquid assets is going to start to matter. Because Caroline was in charge of creating and sending these balance sheets to lenders to get more loans. And Sam asks her to start putting their own crypto coins they had as part of their balance sheets. Things like FTT. Now, Caroline says she did not initially do it because it was, quote, somewhat misleading because you couldn't actually sell these coins for what they were worth on paper. And this didn't just apply to FTX's own coin, FTT. It applied to a whole host of coins they called Sam coins. Sam coins, of course, being a nickname for coins that Sam played a large role in or created himself. Things like Serum, Maps, Oxy, Solana, and the prosecution asks, and were Sam coins ultimately put on Alameda's balance sheet? She said, yeah, even though I guess initially they didn't. So they have all these coins that they can't really sell, but that look good on paper, right? That's really important. The rough value of Sam coins on paper was in the ballpark of $10 billion, okay? Now, while she's preparing these misleading balance sheets, Caroline also claims she learned that Alameda Research had loaned billions of dollars to Sam, Gary, Nishad, and other entities through FTX. According to internal spreadsheets, around $5 billion was loaned out. Why? A lot of it was being used on investments, she said, a lot of early stage startup companies, and of course, political donations. If you're from America, take a big drink. This one hurts. Because Sam said that spending money on politics was very effective, that you could get very high returns in terms of influence by spending relatively small amounts of money. I just want to pause on that moment and just say it's such a sad indictment of our government. I mean, if you're going to get bought out as a politician, can you at least charge a lot of money? You couldn't buy my influence for less than $10 million. I mean, have some self-respect, guys. That's all I'm going to say, okay? We need a better standard. But anyways, moving on, Caroline then explains that these loans to executives were illiquid, meaning you couldn't really sell your stake if you needed to repay the loans because either political donations or venture capital, you're just not going to really get your money back. Over time, Caroline says that she didn't feel good about including these loans on Alameda's balance sheet because, quote, that might raise concerns for Alameda's lenders. And, quote, they made Alameda significantly riskier. Caroline was then asked about Sam Bankman-Fried's approach to risk-taking. Quote, he described himself as risk neutral, meaning that most people are risk averse. But he said that he was totally comfortable taking a risk as long as he thought it was a positive EV. EV meaning expected value. Caroline was asked if Sam gave an example of this, and he did. He would be happy to flip a coin, and if it came up tails, the world was destroyed. As long as if it came up heads, the world would be more than like twice as good. Okay, the prosecution, I think, did not stay on this point enough. This is insane. Of course it's not risk neutral. It's degenerate gambler behavior. This sounds like my uncle betting it all on 00 in Vegas, telling me he has a system. I mean, there's nothing risk neutral about being willing to bet the world's destruction on a coin toss. In fact, it was so bad, the prosecution then asked for a break. And when they came back, the government then shows this exhibit, which is an internal note. The part in gray was written by Sam. And it's just basically a potential bad scenario for FTX and Alameda. Why was Sam thinking about this? Well, he claimed that he thought there was a 10% risk chance that this happened, and he wanted Caroline to look at it. Some of these worst case scenario events were like their venture capital is basically worthless, Serum, Solana, FTT all go down 75%. You get the idea. And the reason for this at the time was not purely theoretical. Sam said he was thinking of making $3 billion more in venture investments and wanted to know how that would affect Alameda's finances. Caroline came back and basically told him it will affect them badly. Quote, making $3 billion more venture investments would put Alameda in a significantly riskier position and make it much less likely or almost impossible that we would be able to pay off our loans. That's, of course, bad. And this is an extremely important moment because it's like someone clearly warning Sam that he should stop. So he does that, right? No. He then tweeted this on January 14th. We're launching a $2 billion venture fund. This is right after he's told you do this, you may collapse your own company because it's too risky. Anyway, that's the end of day 5. Day 6, October 11th. Caroline Ellison gets back on the stand. The jury is told about May of 2022. We're walking through the events. The crypto market has just crashed because of Terra Luna, and crypto lenders are scared. Celsius is collapsing, we covered that. Other lenders don't want to be overextended, and a lot of them decide to call back their loans. The head of lending at Genesis, for example, a large lender to FTX and Alameda, recalls $400 million of their loans. Now, this is bad for Alameda because they don't have money and they've borrowed billions from their customers, billions from lenders. The only way they're going to pay back one of those people is to borrow more from the other. So in this case, they're going to take more from customers. Caroline then testifies this, quote, we didn't have the liquid assets to pay all the money back, and we would be taking money from FTX. Question, and whose funds would that be? That would be coming from customer funds. Nevertheless, they pay back those loans anyways. 5 days later, head of lending at Genesis texts them again. He's worried, might call in more loans. He asks them for a, quote, more updated view of equity and balance sheet. This is really important because Caroline says, okay, yeah, I'll put it together. But behind the scenes, she's really concerned because she puts together a regular balance sheet. But when she shows it to Sam, she says, quote, think it looks bad. I don't think we can send this to Genesis. Do you agree? And he said, yeah, that sounds right. Now we're going to go through some of these balance sheets. I know it's going to be complicated at first, but there's only a few numbers you need to know about. Here's what the original one looked like. What matters here is that their liabilities are massive. Numbers here are in millions, so 14 billion is the total they owed, and 9 billion of it are FTX exchange borrows, meaning taken from FTX customers. Now their assets are 21 billion, which is technically more, but mostly consists of Sam coins, some of which are literally locked up. And then also they have all these related party loans, which they're counting as assets, $4.5 billion. We've talked about that. They can't get that money back. So that is why both Sam and Caroline knew this balance sheet looked terrible. They know they don't have the actual cash or crypto to cover their debts. According to Caroline, Sam then suggested that I should prepare some alternative ways of presenting the information and send them to him. Caroline then creates 7 alternate balance sheets and sends them all to Sam. Because, quote, I didn't really want to be dishonest, but I also didn't want them to know the truth. Them meaning Genesis. And of the 7 alternate balance sheets, this is the one Sam picked. In a side-by-side, you can notice a few things. Firstly, the related party loans is gone. So is the word exchange borrows. Caroline claims, quote, I deleted the related party loans and I also subtracted the same amount of money from FTX borrows, so that our NAV would remain the same, but our total assets and total liabilities would both get lower, which, to be clear, is accounting fraud. But the reason they did this is what's actually important, which is, quote, the intended effect, this is Caroline, was to make Alameda look less risky than it was and to hide the fact that we were borrowing around $10 billion from FTX customers. And so what was the result of all that lying? Well, she sends it off to Genesis and it backfires because they keep recalling loans. All that effort and they're still asked to repay $500 million in $250 million clips. To be clear, this is the worst case scenario Sam had dreamed of coming true. By September, FTX's borrows will have gone up to $13.7 billion. If you remember, just a bit ago, 3 months ago, it was $9.9 billion. So things are spiraling out of control. And by November, things hit a breaking point when that fake balance sheet, which they sent Genesis, got leaked to CoinDesk, a publication, and people started to read it and realized that FTX just didn't have the money, and they started withdrawing from FTX. It's worth commenting here on the irony that this fake balance sheet, which was supposed to conceal how bad things were, was ultimately their downfall, because even with all the changes they made, it still looked so bad to scare customers. But ultimately the result was people just started withdrawing all their money and they couldn't, fulfill that and they collapsed. I know a lot of people will point to CZ tweeting about FTX as like the catalyst for FTX collapsing, but actually that was just extra fuel to the fire. The truth was FTX and Alameda just didn't have the money. They hadn't had the money for a long period of time. And that information got leaked through this balance sheet. But ultimately that wasn't the most impactful moment of Caroline's testimony, because all these numbers, it's hard to know how much the jury is really resonating with it. But what I know they resonated with is what happened right after, which is when the government pulled up a grainy text between Sam and Caroline. She's saying that she's in the best mood I've been in all year. Sam replies, why? Because she's exciting? Quote, I think I just had an increasing dread of this day. It was weighing on me for a long time, and now that it's actually happening, it just feels great to get it over with, one way or another. Now, what happened next will not be shown in court records because transcripts don't show emotions, but I wrote it down because I was there in the courtroom at the time. Caroline starts bawling at this point. She starts expressing remorse, admitting to lying, crying over her guilt and dread. And look, I'm not going to read you her whole statement there, but I was watching the jury, and I know for a fact they were moved by this. They might not have understood all the numbers. They might not have understood the embezzlement, but they understand when a CEO starts crying about how guilty they were about what they were doing, what they knew they were doing the whole time. And I think that was a really powerful moment. And that's basically the end of the day. The next day, Caroline Ellison is up for cross-examination. This is really the defense's chance to kind of land some shots. And of course, it doesn't happen. They try to focus in on the fact that Caroline is just trying to get a cooperation agreement, with the government. The implication being that the only reason she admitted that, she defrauded people, the only reason she's crying is because she wants to get a deal. But the problem with this was that then in redirect, this gets used against the defense when the prosecution uses that to release a tape showing Ellison admitting all of this prior in an all-hands meeting.
Starting last year, Alameda was kind of borrowing a bunch of money via open term loans and use that to make various illiquid investments. So like a bunch of FTX and FTX US equity, a bunch of like other ventures, investments, etc. Most of Alameda's loans got called, and in order to like meet those loan recalls, we ended up like borrowing a bunch of funds on FTX, which led to FTX having a shortfall in user funds.
Just in general, this looked bad. And I just want to say, I'm not trying to make the defense look bad. I understand that I have a bias. But if you're thinking to yourself, wow, this video paints the defense as being bad, that's true, but it's not because I'm trying to select things to make them look bad. It just was like that, and there's no other way to really say that. And that's basically the end of the day. All right, up next, the prosecution has Zach Prince on the stand, CEO of BlockFi. Basically, the point of this was to share the fact that, FTX or Alameda were sending these fake balance sheets around. BlockFi would ultimately go bankrupt because they gave a bunch of loans to Alameda. But I think what's worth highlighting here is how convoluted some of these loans were, because it's worth understanding. The only problem is I barely understand it. So in order to explain it, I just actually had someone else do it. Carly Riley has been covering the trial as well through her channel, Overpriced JPEGs, and she's here to explain sort of how convoluted things were.
Let me see if I can get this in one shot. Okay. FTX US gives a $400 million line of credit to BlockFi, who then starts lending $800 million to Alameda, who in exchange for that $800 million posts collateral back to BlockFi, who hold it in an account that they have on FTX, who lends basically all customer deposits, including BlockFi's collateral deposits, to Alameda, who then uses that money they borrowed from FTX to partially pay back lenders, including BlockFi, who they paid back $150 million to in November of 2022 as everything was imploding, but they never finished paying them back because they went bankrupt.
All right, big thanks to Carly for that. To be honest, even still afterwards, I don't fully understand exactly how the BlockFi thing worked, but usually when things are unnecessarily complicated, it's because someone's trying to hide a ball somewhere. So just understand that the reason a lot of these loans were structured in such a convoluted way was ultimately so that Alameda or FTX could benefit. And that's ultimately what happened. They ended up basically siphoning money out of BlockFi. All right, today we have another big witness, Nishad Singh. He's basically the head of engineering at FTX, but the reason he's important is because he describes finding out that Alameda had basically taken customer money and confronting Sam about it on this balcony, pictured here. Nishad says that he was pacing behind these baskets on the left, and Sam was reclined on one of the white-like chase chairs behind that. In fact, it's not too far from where we are now. Basically, Nishad confronts Sam saying, hey, Caroline's really freaked out about the net asset value situation, and so am I. According to Nishad, Sam then replied, I'm not sure what there is to worry about. Net asset value is fantastic by almost any measure. Nishad replied, well, what about what Caroline said today and Gary said today, that there's $13 billion borrowed and we can't pay it all? Sam said, right, that. We are a little short on deliverables. He then says, this has been taxing me some 5 to 10% of my productivity for this year. Now, this is important because Sam and his defense's excuse traditionally has been, hey, I just found out about this debt, this giant debt that Alameda had in late 2022.
I mean, look, I wasn't running Alameda. I didn't know exactly what was going on. I didn't know the size of their position. A lot of these are things I've learned over the last month that I learned as I was sort of frantically digging into this on November 6th, November 7th, November 8th.
But that excuse now falls flat because clearly we have him saying that he knew about this for over a year. After all, he claims it occupied 10% of his productivity. So that blows a large hole in the defense's case that Sam was some innocent bystander. Now today had a bunch of other fun bits in it too, like spreadsheets of political donations, spreadsheets of venture capital investments, spreadsheets of celebrity endorsements. Yes, I like the spreadsheets. There's fun data in there, like the fact that celebrity endorsements cost $1.13 billion. In general, just the feeling was that, hey, Alameda's burning cash, even as their company is drowning in debt and nobody seems to care. All right, now we're on to the cross-examination of Nishad. And for the first time, this is where the defense starts to get their feet a little bit and things flipped pretty quick. The consensus the day before was that all of that was terrible for Sam. Nishad was a star witness. He was there confronting Sam on the balcony. He has this detailed story about, how he did it. But when pressed for details, this is where things got really weak. The defense brought up his lack of certainty earlier in his conversations. Quote, "You told the prosecutors that you had a surprising amount of haziness when trying to recall events in June and July of 2022. Nishad responds, "I don't remember saying those exact words. There was a lot I didn't remember the details around from that time." Wait, which is it? His testimony is based around him remembering exactly what he said to Sam Bankman-Fried. Now he's saying he's hazy on the details? But it gets worse. Nishad said that when he found out Alameda had stolen money, he felt really betrayed and described it as evil. But then the defense pointed out that Nishad himself had borrowed money, $3.7 million, to buy a house for himself. And where did he get that money? Well, he also took it from FTX, it turns out, which just destroys his credibility, because how can you think something's evil and then use it to get a big house for $3.7 million? So Nishad may have been the best storyteller for the prosecution, but he was also the easiest to pick apart for the defense. All right, day 11, we get Peter Easton, an accounting professor at Notre Dame. His job is to trace what happened to the money at FTX. He begins by showing a chart of the money Alameda owed FTX. $11.3 billion was the peak of their debts. So in theory, Alameda should have had that money they owed as a balance in the bank. But instead, the green line shows Alameda's actual balance in fiat. They owed billions of dollars that they didn't have. Next, Peter Easton showed how this happened through commingling of funds. These are the different bank accounts that Alameda, FTX, their different entities owned. Theoretically, these all should be separate, which is why they're in their own boxes. But in reality, the transactions looked like this. They were all sending money to each other. This is why Alameda didn't have the money. They spent it through these different shell companies. Peter Easton broke down exactly how in 4 categories: investments in businesses, political contributions, charities, and purchase of properties. Then he showed exactly what this looked like with charts like this, showing from left to right how customers' funds were sent to Alameda Research and then spent on some investment Sam himself wanted. They even had chat logs of Sam directing these investments. Peter showed multiple examples like this, Alameda stealing customers' money. We saw it over and over and over and over. The effect of all this was the feeling that almost all of SBF's donations, venture capital, charity, politic contributions, it was all paid for by his customers, which led us finally to this, a pie chart showing what Alameda owed customers along with a breakout of what they actually spent it on. And lo and behold, only a small fraction, $2.3 billion, was held aside for actual customers. Everything else was spent on things like this. And seeing this chart was devastating for Sam because it simplified an incredibly complicated topic into basically one easily readable chart. Now, we're going to come back to Peter Easton because he's really interesting. But first, I need to talk about what happened the next day. So up on the stand, we have Can Sun on day 12, FTX's general counsel. He's being asked about what happened during the collapse of FTX when they're looking to raise money to save the company. Now, at some point, they turn to a company called Apollo, which only is important because Apollo finds out FTX is $7 billion short on customer funds, and they ask Sam for a legal justification as to why the funds were missing at Alameda, and he asked me, Can Sun, to come up with a legal justification. The prosecution then asks, and did you come to any conclusions? Answer, yes, that there were no legal justifications for the money being taken away. Can Sun eventually admits, though, quote, I did tell him that there were theoretical arguments, but none of them was supported by the facts. And one of those theoretical arguments became the famous margin lending defense. Basically, in FTX's terms of service, there were 2 types of customers, regular customers and margin trading customers. Regular customers couldn't have their assets lent out. margin trading customers had a separate TOS where they agreed that they could have their funds lent out. And the theoretical argument is that whenever Alameda borrowed money, they weren't borrowing from regular customers, they were borrowing from these margin lending customers, which they were allowed to do. The only issue with this is that Can-Sun said that he, quote, previewed this argument with Nishad and Ramick, and they had pulled some numbers that showed that it was not supported by the facts. Question, did you relay that to the defendant? Answer, yes. How did he acknowledge it? He said, yup. Okay. We know this is true because of Peter Easton's testimony earlier, who showed some of these numbers. On this graph in red, you have how much Alameda owed customers, and in green, you have how much Alameda was borrowing in the spot margin program. As you can see, there are billions of dollars still missing that couldn't be explained by this argument. Despite this, Sam would still try to use it, later in interviews with people like George Stephanopoulos.
My understanding is a few things happen. The first is there is a margin trading facility on FTX by which users can lend out funds, by which other users borrow funds. And so there are explicit cases where there is, margin extended, where there is borrow lending.
If Alameda is borrowing the money that belongs to FTX depositors, that's a bright red line, isn't it?
There are a lot of cases where that's actually explicitly part of the programs and that are
but
happening.
Not here. Here it says that the digital assets may not be loaned to FTX trading.
As you can see there, Sam is just sort of trying out this argument, see if anyone bites. But even at the time, I knew that this couldn't be true because we had evidence that it wasn't. And I confronted Sam about it.
But I talked to somebody from Alameda and asked how big the position of, or how many people had assets in the type of accounts that terms of service would apply to versus the regular terms of service, which said you couldn't use their money. And they said it was about $1 billion that was in the margin trading or the margin side of things where you could reuse their funds or whatever. And the rest of it was not there. So does that mean the rest of the money was stolen? I mean, it seems like you're putting all your eggs behind this one excuse about, there was this separate side of the terms of service. How do you address everyone else?
So I don't have all the data in front of me. My memory is that it was substantially more than $1 billion in the margin trading program. But I don't have that data in front of me right now, so I can't verify that.
Well, now we do have the real numbers. And of course, as Can-Sun, his lawyer, told Sam at the time, the argument makes no sense because the numbers just don't support what he's saying. And we were right. Day 13, this basically marks the end of the prosecution's case and the beginning of the defense's. Now, originally we said they didn't really have many people who were going to testify besides Sam Bankman-Fried. Eventually, the defense did find one guy, and that is Joseph Pembley, a financial consultant who takes the stand next. Now, his job is basically to undo the work of Peter Easton and provide an alternative financial case. To do this, he claimed that 78% of accounts on FTX had spot margin lending enabled, trying to give credit to this margin lending explanation. Or to put it another way, only $2 billion that were borrowed wouldn't be allowed. To be honest, this was pretty confusing because this basically flips Peter Easton's testimony on its head. You have these two financial experts basically both saying opposite things. So to draw a distinction between these two witnesses, the prosecution in cross asked Mr. Pembley if he had only looked at the FTX database. Pembley says, yes, that is correct. Question, you can't draw further conclusions beyond that. Correct. They point out, question, you didn't look at the fiat at account in FTX, did you? And you did not engage in any financial tracing, correct? Pembley answers, of course not. No, sir. The idea here being to distinguish Peter Easton as the person who actually traced crypto and fiat, whereas Pembley just looked at a single database that FTX maintained and could have tainted. Even though I guess they had a point here, I do think this was a net win for the defense because the goal, and I think what they achieved, was muddying the waters by presenting their own set of numbers that was very different. And look, speaking of alternative stories, this is where things got really interesting because the defense next calls up their star witness, I guess, Sam Bankman-Fried, to the stand. All right, let me start this by saying it is very risky when a defendant testifies because it can open you up to cross-examination. But at this point, I think everyone agreed that Sam doesn't really have much to lose, and he loves to talk. And so, Sam's explanation for what happened the last few years began. And you won't be surprised to find out that it's very different from the prosecution story. Now, some of it consisted of innocent explanations. Things like how Sam auto-deleted messages on Signal, that a prosecution kind of implied he was hiding evidence. Sam claims this was just a precaution he learned called the New York Times test, where you want to avoid writing things down because a lot of innocuous things can look pretty bad out of context. Other times, Sam wouldn't just say it was innocent, he would claim ignorance of what was happening. He would say things like, I wasn't entirely sure what was happening, and I wish I had a better understanding than I did. And there were teams that were managing this process. Sam even says he didn't even know about the $8 billion hole in his company called the Fiat Ad account. Quote, did you know what Fiat Ad was at the time? No. Did you later learn? Yes. Sam says he didn't even have conversations about it until October of 2022, which, if you remember, directly contradicts what we heard from other employees. He even claims he was very surprised when he found out they owed $8 billion. Basically, his version of events has him the surprise CEO, at the helm of the Titanic, who only finds out it's all sinking when it's too late to save. And all of the illegal actions taken by his, company were really because of Caroline Ellison, Nishad, and Gary. And all of it was without his knowledge. And look, I guess it's a story. It's a nice story. But is it going to hold up to Cross? Let's find out. Okay, Sam is up on the stand. Ms. Sassoon is the lawyer for cross-examination. He's basically evasive. She's ruthless. So here's what happened next. Ms. Sassoon asks, were you not involved at all in Alameda trading in 2022? Sam says, I was not involved as a general principal in day-to-day trading. Then Ms. Sassoon showed him being involved in day-to-day trading, Oxy and Maps, with text messages to Caroline saying, quote, $1 to $2 million of each over the next day or two. Question, did you see that? Yep. And so began the ruthless destruction of Sam's credibility. He would say he didn't do something, and then basically we'd get hard evidence that he did. We also got a really annoying strategy from Sam where he just would try to dodge every question about things he said in the past. Like, do you recall that? Sam would say, not specifically, but I'm not saying that I didn't. Or Ms. Sassoon would ask, yes or no, you stated on this podcast you were not involved at all in Alameda trading. Sam, I don't recall what I said. And then we would just hear this.
I wasn't super involved in Alameda. I was not involved at all in the trading. I hadn't been for years.
Things continued like this, with Sam saying things like, I'm not sure. I don't remember. Quote, I don't remember what I said. And Ms. Sassoon each time would show him exactly what he said he doesn't remember. And Sam basically refused to say yes, even to things that were obviously true. Like a question, did you or did you not market FTX International as safe? Yes, he did that like a million times. He'd say, I don't specifically remember that, I'm not sure. Which, I'm not sure the benefit of saying you don't remember this, but there are definitely negatives to it, which was pissing off the judge and the jury. After all, Sam's whole case rests on his version of events, which is very different from everyone else's, but when pressed on basic statements he made, if he suddenly gets amnesia and can't recall, why should anyone believe it when he does recall things? This felt like a really big trap had been set for Sam, and he kind of just walked right into it. Not that things went better for him when he did answer, though, because at some point, Ms. Sassoon asked about regulation, and he did answer that. Question, you wanted your followers to think that consumer protection was important to you, right? Answer, sure. But this was really just for PR, wasn't it? Answer, no. She then pulls up a message Sam himself wrote and had him read it out to the jury, saying, yeah, just PR. F regulators. And look, that's a lot. Just on paper, that's already so damning. But having Sam himself actually repeat it back to the judge and jury just encapsulates this story so well. Because from the beginning, Sam believed he can talk his way out of this. Only to have himself eviscerated, not necessarily by other people, but by his own words most of all. There's just something so poetic about that. And look, cross-examination went on for a while, but I think that was the most powerful moment for me personally. And it concludes the major revelations from his testimony. So now, after hearing all the evidence, I think it's time for a jury decision. All right, we have a verdict. It's only been 3 hours since the jury started deliberating, which usually means it was a fast decision. So if you want to put in your thoughts at home, I have the verdict right here. All 7 counts, guilty, baby. So this is a pretty happy ending, obviously, for me, but we won't know the sentencing until March. In fact, I think it's a happy ending for a lot of the customers, at least some cold comfort that there looks like there's going to be some justice done here. And for this case, for now, it's over. Either way, hope you enjoyed this detailed look at the FTX trial. Thanks for watching.
Okay, before you go, I just wanted to say I'm going to be releasing some tasteful photos for my bathtub shoot on Patreon as wallpapers. Coffee hasn't paid his tab in weeks, and I'm broke.
What are you whispering about over there?
Oh, nothing. I'm just telling everybody they can get early access to these amazing videos on Patreon by supporting us.
Hey, that's actually pretty nice. Thanks, Maxwell. You know, and to think I was mad at you earlier.
All is forgiven.
That's good. You know, last thing, I found this camera of yours, and there's some pretty insane photos you took. We're deleting these, right? We can't show the public this.
Oh, those? Of course. You know, you've been working so hard. Let me take care of that for you. You get going now.
Wow, thanks. Yeah, sure. Just take care of it. And I think I'm